stream. Started the record. Also, I don't know if you saw my email. I'm not feeling very well tonight. So if you could just, I'll be on standby. So just call my cell phone if you need me, please.
Sure. And the time is 7:06. My name is Elviezer Rodriguez, and I am the chair of the Investigative Committee. Let me just go around the committee and introduce yourselves.
Joe Thompson, I'm a member of the committee.
Hazel Mura, member. Bernadette Ferrara, chair.
Jeanette Wilson, member.
Rich Reynoso, co-chair.
And today's date is April 15th. Thank you. We're going to go ahead and start with Bernadette. I guess everybody had a chance to review the resolution and some of the responses from our last meeting with Bernadette. I know some stuff went out today. Jeremy, you had a chance to see some of that. That could be helpful. But I would like to start by getting some feedback from the committee. If you could just look at your resolution.
Well,
He's not it.
that's not
I
it.
only have one copy.
Okay.
How many copies of the resolution?
Do you have a copy? I can run them off.
Yeah.
How many do we need?
Scratch offs on my handwriting. My writing was assigned.
Okay. Who needs a copy of the?
Joe needs a copy.
I need,
Do you need one? Oh,
I need one.
Everybody had a chance to review their notes for tonight?
yeah, I mean, it's on scrap paper, but
There's the matter.
I think that's it, right?
Yeah, I'll just copy it.
Oh, I see, it's scrap picture on the other side.
I always, you know me, recycle. Recycle plan.
Yeah.
What we can do is we can go down the resolution one item at a time, and then you guys can comment on that item. If we have any questions, and Bernadette can answer them. If not, we can just keep moving on. You think it's best to try to do with the resolution or wait to the end if we want to make a motion?
Do you want to go over the responses that you received? Or?
Do we need to? Should we do it?
No. That's good.
If you guys need to.
No.
Well, has everyone else read? And the responses I received from Jeremy and company from the extra questions?
Mhm.
Do they need to?
No, well, there was a follow-up, right? Just so
Yeah.
thank you.
I'm sorry, hon.
I got it.
I'll collect this.
Yeah, no, I know.
Does anyone else need a copy?
I have it here.
I'll leave this here just in case you want to scratch on it.
Okay, so the first item on Bernadette's resolution is the communication breakdown. Now read it. Significant communication barriers have been erected by Chair Ferrara with the institution of policies that any and all correspondence to Community Board 11, hereafter referred to as the board, or staff to be reviewed and approved by her, censoring what information is disseminated to and from all parties. That's the first bullet point under communication breakdown. How do we feel about that? Based on the information we've gathered so far. Joe, anything?
Yeah, I have no comment.
Hazel? Any comments on the first item on the communication breakdowns?
Is that pertaining to the emails and stuff?
Yes.
Okay, so. At my job, nothing goes out of my department without me looking at it. So. And I think that was one of the things that came up, that emails I sent to her for review. It's the same way in my office, so in my department anyway. So I can relate to that. And, I think that's the only comment I had.
Joe, you have anything to add? Rich?
Well, I mean, the position of chair is to disseminate all information from the public and the board to each other in a free-flowing manner. I think the issue, with that came up was that things weren't getting out that needed to get out, or even folks wanted to get out. It's one of those things where we think the chair has a lot of power, but in reality, the chair is just a go-between. It's just kind of they're just supposed to go in between the public and the board. So I do think there was a communication breakdown.
I also agree the nature of the community board reflects that in that position, you are responsible for disseminating information. And based on our previous meeting and the questions we asked and the responses that we received, I agree that there was a breakdown.
Thank you. Now, as I recall, there was a difference between emails that a member wanted to go to the entire board, as opposed to just general emails going to Jeremy. And only those emails that were intended to go to the full board, those are the emails that Bernadette wanted to review. Is that correct, Bernadette?
Between Jeremy and myself, there was always a checkpoint. That's it. It's like, Jim, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? So, most of the time, if it's not going out to the full board, or if it's not somebody, I never see them. I get them like everybody else.
So the only emails that will come to you are emails that are intended to go out to the full board?
Yeah, and if there's anything in question, like for instance, the one that is pointed out here, there was a part in there that said regrettably progress was hindered by the absence of appointments typically handled by the board chair. That was an untrue statement. And there was no hindering. And so we had a back and forth. So that's why this came up from Malcolm. So that went back and forth, and I basically was like, I asked him if he would rewrite that or, choose to take it out. One of the back and forth emails is part of the evidence or attachments, however you want to call it. So, honestly, I'd have to look to see how it ended up. I don't remember. So either it went out or it didn't go out. I don't remember. I don't know if he chose to reword it or I think one of his comments were, I'll work it out with the rest of the board. So it's in one of the emails here. So honestly, there hasn't really been anything that I would say, no, why would I not send it out to the board? It was information. It's just a checkpoint. Let's say that's all it is a checkpoint.
Is there anything specific in that? Any specific requests?
No, with this particular one in point, no, there wasn't. There was just, let's see, where is this? Number 4. I think there was a request from Malcolm to go out to the full board. But then there was a question about alignment. It was basically saying something that I did not do. So I requested if he would check it and if he would, reword it, or if he would delete it so that we could send it out. And as it went back and forth, and I again said, I think in the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, it's like the chair did not veto. I did not intercept an email. The chair was waiting. I was trying to explain. this is not something you send out to the full board because it really is, it was a disparaging remark. So that was the point. And his thing was, his response was, it's been a few days. You could have honestly responded with the appointments, but you, for a time, personally don't care to continue unless we're seeking a solution. So it ended.
Just to follow up, what was the remark?
It said was, regrettably, progress has been hindered by the absence of appointments typically handed by the board chair. So at this point, they're talking about the DEI committee. Yeah, the DEI committee. And that it actually goes into one of the other allegations. That I hindered that, that committee. So, but when in truth, it ended with Jeremy and I, there was another email that ended at the end of February. Then the full board voted in April. And then after that, there was no activity because there was a question that Jeremy had asked, well, why don't you go and, at least check with the DEI past chairs and past committee? And I think gave the name, the phone number. And then I didn't hear anything else. And then there was a lot of stuff going on. So, then there was the next email was from Cynthia saying she wanted to be on it. And that was in August. So, the finger was pointed that I hindered it, that I purposely hindered it. And I have to say, I'm not going to say yes to something I didn't do. And I explained to everybody right here when it was asked me with 7 people. And I explained it, and that's where this is coming from.
Is this, I'm sorry,
Go ahead, Mary.
is this the only issue you've ever had with a email that went out to the full board? There's been other issues, or is this the only one? Because
If there was other ones, I'm not made aware of, because usually if something comes, if Jeremy would say, what do you think about this? And I'm like, it's fine. It's fine, send it through. There was no question in my mind. But that's just a checkpoint back and forth, because a lot of stuff is going on, a lot of stuff comes to Jeremy. He wants to make sure, I want to make sure if I have a question, it's just a checkpoint. It's not like, no, oh, I see who this is coming from. No, we're not going to send that one. No, we're not going to do that. I'm sorry, that's not how I operate.
I did ask Jeremy, I'm sorry, go ahead.
So I wanted to say that it seems as if Bernadette is addressing both the first and the second bullet point.
Yes.
I'm also going to say that when I read all of this, it was my understanding that the claim is that significant communication barriers have happened, and perhaps one was used as an example, but it doesn't stand alone. I'm going to say that if you're disseminating information and if you see something as a disparaging remark that then applies to yourself, you have to weigh whether or not you can't withhold an entire correspondence and delay a procedure that can impact the entire board. I'm also going to say that when we met previously, one of the things in delayed responses, I asked Bernadette if she thought it was okay to not respond or to take as much time as possible to respond, and her answer was yes. And I think that speaks to the stand that the resolution is taking, that as chair, that's not a luxury that you can indulge in.
Bernadette, did you ask Malcolm to rephrase or to eliminate that language, the disparaging language towards you?
Yes, I said in the next email, I said, Malcolm, we've received expressions of interest from the board. I sincerely share this. Regrettable progress has been hindered to propel this committee into action. Please be advised that the statement in your paragraph, and I have it bolded, is false and has been stated in the DEIB committee email. Continued statements to undermine the chair is noted. Please correct your email invite, and your invite will be sent to the full board. And then the next email is, Bernard, I asked this email to be sent to the full board. Is a reason why this wasn't sent. This was after my email. I'm sure they just crossed. And then he went on to say, in April, a strong majority voted to establish this committee, recognizing a pressing need. As chair, your role is to carry out the board's decisions without overriding them with personal views or interests. Veto power isn't part of the chair's authority. I'm going to stop right there. If somebody was sending out something about Joe, about you, and it was disparaging, I would say the same thing. This one happened to be about me. I would say it. Putting something out to the full board, if you're asking for an invite, if you're asking for information, that's one thing. But if you're going to put in a sarcastic or disparaging remark, I don't think that's appropriate. I would do it for anybody else. This one happened to be about me.
Can you just repeat the disparaging remark again?
Regrettably, progress has been hindered by the absence of appointments typically handed by the board's chair.
Okay.
It's not true.
Can I ask a different question then? What is the longest amount of time you've taken to appoint a member to a committee?
Well, if you're talking about Susan Perez, okay.
I'm asking in general.
And what does that got to do with
Yeah.
emails?
Response to,
Emails.
she blended the first two, so I'm addressing the first two. The chair has consistently delayed responses to timely issues. I think if you want to be on a committee, that is a timely issue, so I'm asking a reasonable question. What is the longest amount of time you've taken to appoint someone?
It has only been with Susan Perez, and I had concerns. And I needed to discuss it. I probably should have responded to it, but it was in the midst of so many things going on at the beginning of December. And then the holidays hit and everything else. So I belabored that a little too long, but I will be sending out my response.
So
I will be sending out.
So if we take Susan out of the equation, because I would assume that you don't normally take 3 or 4 months to make a decision, what is the normal amount of time?
About a month,
Thank
or
you.
not even, but about a month, yeah.
But if we're also addressing the second bullet point, it seems to me like the thrust behind that question is the fact that she was involved in a political campaign, and that's what delayed her responses.
Political.
I didn't read the second bullet point, but I'm going to read it now. The chair has consistently delayed responses to timely issues, possibly a result of her preoccupation with non-board business such as her campaign for political office. She has been unresponsive to the needs and pending open issues of the board, and therefore community board, the community they represent. And that I didn't read that at first, but it seems to me like a thrust behind that was she was preoccupied with other issues, and that's what delayed her from responding.
I am a new chair. There was a lot of things going on. We had to deal with the city of Yes. We had to deal with, there was so much. And to be quite honest, in all my years, I have got to say between last year and going into this year, I don't think that Community Board 11 has been preoccupied with so many important issues that need detailed information. information that has to get out to all the board members and to the public that, to point the finger as my political thing, that was the reason. I feel that that is not fair, to be honest. That could be in anybody's situation. They could say, well, you're a lawyer. That's why you're not being a good chair. Is my opinion hold if you've been actually been doing everything? That I just feel that, it's splitting hairs. I just don't feel that was valid in my opinion. I take the role as chair very important. Take my role as president of Banner Neighborhood Alliance very important. I take my role as a board member very importantly. So if as a new chair I'm being hit from every corner, et cetera, about major priorities, that's what I'm going to focus on. The priorities that we're dealing with, because that's why I'm volunteering my time.
Any other comments, questions?
So I'll go back to the beginning when we said,
Yes.
at our first hearing, she admitted that she was holding things back. Yeah. So I'll leave it there.
And I think when you mentioned that we requested to get information from Jeremy on how many emails.
Yeah, he didn't get it.
We didn't get it.
No, so it lays with the mouth.
We get a sense of how many emails
Yeah.
were addressed for her to send out and they didn't go out, and we didn't have that information.
You can only believe what was told.
But if she said it,
No, that's what I'm saying.
yes, if she is saying it and there is no incentive to make a disparaging remark against yourself. So if she is saying it simply because Jeremy did not deliver on his part, we still have her testimony that
Correct.
she delayed.
So how many emails? How many emails did she delay?
She
We
did
don't know.
not specify.
We're not the one on trial.
Mhm.
No, but we're talking about one specific incident.
This is an overall comment here.
overall.
I'm addressing the overall, and the overall was addressing the first,
So Bernadette,
meeting.
since we didn't get a response to how many emails we're talking about that went to you and you held on to them, can you give us a sense how many emails went to you that you held on to and then send them out?
Different
This,
emails.
to be honest, this is the only one, that, actually was, this was the only one that really stood out. There really hasn't been any. I mean, if you're gonna make me, there's about 50 emails a day to 100 that cross on Jeremy's path, okay? If you're gonna allow us to go through a whole year's worth of emails, there has not been any that I said, you know what, Jeremy, this one's gonna hold back. This one, I have concerns. This was the only one that I said, yeah, this is a disparaging remark, okay? It wasn't put towards anybody here but me, okay? So this was a disparaging remark. And I would have stopped it and requested this if it was being addressed to anybody else, any other board members, that was being sent out to all the board members.
Any further comments, questions, discussion? The third bullet point there is the chair has failed to adequately appraise the board of ongoing litigation against the board and or its current and or former members.
I think I'll address that last time with his testimony, where it's up to him. I'm assuming it's the Al situation.
Yeah, but it's on her.
Okay, no, I know, but I'm kind of.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yes, I don't mean, unless you want to address this, I could address this to me. To you guys.
I mean, there were other chairs before me that should have said it to the board members or brought it to their attention. Why is it being thrown in my lap?
And as I recall, the board was informed about this when it happened. And in some instances it was ongoing, but I'm not sure if anything has happened in the past year. As far as I don't know. Has there been any forward progress that needed to be reported to the board?
The only information that I know of is that there was some sort of decision or settlement last July, but to the person that is involved with it, it's ongoing, but I don't know what those details are.
Any
I
questions on
truly
that?
don't.
Generally, what was that about?
But the EEO,
Yeah,
but that was what happened in 2012.
Yeah, if you don't know the specifics, but generally, what was that about? And
There was remarks made that were
Um,
beyond
let's
disparaging
try-
from Tony Italiano to Jeremy in the board office, and then he reported them to EEO. That was 2012. I mean, I do know the details because all of the information and the transcripts were sent out when it was happening to all the board members for us to read. There was a lot to read. A lot to read.
Is there any further discussion on item number 1, communication breakdown, and the 3 points to follow?
No,
Are we ready to make a motion on item 1?
Yeah.
What's the motion?
Let's think about it.
Perhaps it might help if we just go down each bullet point and see if we think that there's a violation there, if it's legitimate or what.
You need to vote, maybe you guys need to vote on each one? I don't
do we
know
need
what the
to
proper
vote on
protocol
each
is.
individual?
No, we don't need to.
No, we
do
don't
that.
need to.
It's whatever you guys decide you want to do.
Yeah, what do you guys want to do? We can either do a whole package deal, go yes or no, guilty, not guilty, or we could do by number, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Want to think about that?
If you want, we can go through all of them and come back and decide on each one. Joe, you have a preference? I probably
What is the
just,
reason that we're going through?
I don't have a preference. I think we should, I think we should take them, as a whole, each section as a whole.
each number.
Number 1, how do we feel about that?
Okay,
I agree with that.
That's fine with me, yeah. I think that's the clear-cut way to do it.
Okay, so we can start with Hazel. So Hazel, we're looking at communication breakdown as a whole. Whether you think there's enough there to make a motion, if she's in violation.
I don't feel that there was a violation if it's according to what she's testified to. There's only been one email that was in question. I don't think she ever said not to send it out. She requested that it be edited or amended in some way. I don't think that she neglected her position because of her campaign. I was constantly getting updates, email updates, so she was pretty much on top of everything that was going on, and she's absolutely right. There was a lot going on, and there still is a lot going on.
So your vote is?
And the litigation, that's kind of a moot situation, so I don't think there was a violation here.
Joe?
I sort of agree with Hazel on a couple of points. I don't see how we can kind of put this in a timely fashion. When it should have been done, how it should have been done, who should have been involved in it. I don't see a clear-cut charge here. Because a lot of things are subjective on this. So I think it's the way people look at it more than anything else. I just think it's very subjective.
So you would, your vote is?
Um, I don't see a breakdown.
I see a breakdown, yes.
Jeanette?
I see a breakdown.
I don't think there's enough here for me to say there's a breakdown. I think that the emails, they didn't go out. We're talking about one. I haven't heard of others. Requested information, got to go with what we have. The political campaigns, I'm not sure that was enough to cause a delay. There might be other issues. And number three, to me, as far as I'm concerned, that's a private matter. And it was disclosed to the board at some points. And I don't think there was much further forward action since it was the board was first told about this lawsuit. So I don't think that there's enough there for me. Let's go on to the second one, violation of New York City Charter and CB bylaws. The chair has fully demonstrated a continued willful disregard to full board votes. The full board voted to support the creation and execution of an annual Juneteenth event was actively undermined by Chair Ferrara. She withheld delayed payments for the venue, denied the use of the community board's name or logo, and did not attend the event, but was seen at the voting booth on the day of the event. Any discussion on that?
I'd just like to hear from the chair on an explanation.
Didn't we discuss this already last time?
We did.
We discussed this.
So why are we discussing it again?
We do not need to
This is-
discuss it again.
For you guys to comment.
Also, in Jeremy's response today, if I recall correctly, we had a response regarding the check for the Juneteenth celebration.
What was this comment?
Did everyone read it?
Was it number two the number two?
He sent up 3 or 4 today.
Number two, she should be a signer?
Mhm.
Okay.
She's not.
No, she's not. Okay.
From what I recall, wasn't there a delay because of the logo?
There was, what was discussed at the prior meeting was there was a delay because of the logo that the chair did not feel that it should be listed as a Community Board 11 sponsored event, which delayed it. And in all seriousness, the venue would have been lost because of that delay. The only reason the venue wasn't lost was because it was at my center.
Was payment delayed because of that? We know?
That's exactly what was discussed at the previous meeting that we were all at here.
And I specifically made it a point to say, I don't sign the checks. And after our full board meeting, where for me, the discussion was that, how much of a deposit was going to be okay for that. And that the amount of money was $800 and $300 would come back for the actual deposit. And then Jeremy had spoke to you about it and you said not to worry about it, you know.
Jeremy spoke to me because he was afraid the venue would be lost. And to be very honest, it would have been if I didn't basically intervene with my board at the co-op.
So I guess if you want me to explain again,
I don't think it's necessary. I
I did
think,
not hinder this with this. I did not hinder. That's my whole point. Their community board, what I was taught from that, as chair, okay?
I'm not
We're
asking
not
for
supposed to
any-
get involved in it.
Bernadette, I'm not asking for any explanation. I
Okay,
have no
fine.
questions. I have nothing.
Joe? Anything?
No.
Hazel?
I'm a little confused as to why we couldn't use the logo.
It was the
If it
wording,
was-
it was the wording, it was the wording. And the example that was given is the Health and Social Services Committee of Community Board 11. And this is when they had their health fair, okay? Community Board 11 did not sponsor it, but they entitled it as a Health and Social Services Committee of Community Board 11. That was the only thing that was in question. Had nothing to do about the logo, was the wording of it. And that was the only thing that was in question. That had nothing to do with the event going on, it had nothing to do, well, there was, this was a new event. I was more focused on the money and the deposit. Because, but I was trying to, it turned out to be something that got really blown out of proportion, and maybe I was trying to just speak to clarify. Community board doesn't sponsor stuff, the committee takes care of it, the committee under, of Community Board 11. That was the whole thing. It had nothing to do with the money. It had, we hadn't done that ever before, at least not that I know of, but if everybody was was for it, why not? It's a new event. I just wanted to make sure it's the same reason why community boards don't sponsor parades. Because then it would look like you're focusing on the Columbus Day Parade or the Yemeni Parade or any other specific parade. They have committees that do that. They don't come from Community Board 11. I mean, these are things that I talked of with Tom Lucania, just basically the basic things that, you don't get involved with controversial things, you don't get involved with stuff, so you're not supposed to sponsor it. It has nothing to do with the logo being on it.
Should that
Logo
then
had-
not been addressed at the full board meeting when it was approved?
It was discussed before that. The motion that was made before that was for the money to get the full board approval.
Okay, so if the full board approved it, then there should not have been any delay, which is, I believe, the point. Because the full board did approve it, but there was a delay. And all the rationale as to why doesn't change the fact that the full board approved it and there was a delay.
Well, bottom line is doesn't matter what I said, it went through anyway, and I had absolutely nothing to do with the money. I had nothing to do with the money.
Did you have to approve the check being written?
No, I never saw it.
Okay,
I'm not we didn't get that far as making me a signatory.
so you're saying that you were not responsible for the delay of the check getting to Jeanette?
No,
Um,
that was approved. That was approved by the full board.
So who delayed the check?
I don't know. I don't know.
Did Jeremy answer that?
I had no idea. And it wasn't, I had no say in it.
So your only concern was that the community board doesn't sponsor the event. It has to be a committee within the community board.
Right, and that's basically how it's been done before. If everybody wants to, it was changed, everybody changed it, I'm fine. If we're in any kind of breach or whatever with city charter, then we'll deal with it, whatever. But right now, that's just the way it is. That's the way everybody wanted it. And that's how it went forward.
So the original flyer had Community Board 11 being the
Yep.
sponsor, not a committee of Community Board 11.
And I have requested at the different meetings as they were between February, March, April, May, because Serena kept on saying, well, because at each committee that the name changed. And so I said, why are you calling it the first of that? And she says, oh, I like the name. It's like, okay. I didn't, she was sitting right here. I was sitting here, we were in the committee. So my point is, you know what? If we're in breach or something, it'll come to us. I mean, I basically tried to explain that, that's, we're not, Community Board 11 is not supposed to sponsor. And as chair, that's what I'm following. If everybody wants to do everything else, so when we don't get in trouble, then it's fine. I can't push against it. And I really take offense to somebody saying that I stopped, because I delayed the money, because I had absolutely nothing to do with that.
Any further questions on that bullet point?
No, I don't have it.
No, we
Joe?
were wasting time.
No, I just want to ask, as chair, is this the way it's supposed to be done, but the chair has nothing to do with the allocation of funds, the collection of funds?
As far as, well, even if you have people opposing it, if I opposed it, if somebody else, if there was a vote that went against it in committee and then it was voted, if it's a full board vote, then it's a full board vote, the majority vote, so you have to go with that.
So I do have a question. So as chair, shouldn't you know who has authority to sign a check and when?
Yeah, I left that in Jeremy's hands because I
So
think.
can we call Jeremy? Because apparently it's Jeremy who is responsible
Jeremy,
for
you on?
not doing
I
this.
can tell you who signs the checks.
Huh?
I can tell you who signs the checks.
Yeah.
I think a question
Veronica
is
knows
why
because
wasn't it
Veronica
signed?
Have to change it to,
I believe
start-
at this point in time, it's Al and Joanne Rubino. We're in the process of getting that changed. It's been delayed a little bit, but originally it was going to be changed to Bernadette and myself since I'm treasurer. But we've put a hold on that due to certain circumstances right now. So we don't want to have to redo the process over again. So we're just waiting.
because we have to be at the bank at the same
Right, at the
time.
same
the
time.
schedule,
That's fine. I think the question at hand is what delayed the money coming out from this specific issue, this specific bullet point? I don't know if Jeremy's gonna respond to it.
Jeremy, can you respond?
Yeah, you have to call him, like he said.
He's not feeling well, so he's not on. We have to phone.
We'll go through the-
And I am being very honest, I'm not putting anybody under the bus. I don't
If
know.
you look at his email
My
that he
goal is
sent,
not to
and
have this
number
meeting
one-
go to midnight.
number one tells you about the
What?
delay in the check.
Mhm.
Okay, so it says the delay may have been related to Bernard's concern about how the event was being advertised,
He says the delay may have been,
which is a probable yes. We can call him, but I don't. We want a definite yes from Jeremy or a probable yes? It's not a no or a negative no. It's a probably yes.
I'm also just going to state for the record that a good leader is also capable of saying, I made a mistake. I'm going to learn from that mistake and I'll do it differently next time.
Who made the mistake?
It says Bernadette right here.
Yeah, but I did not make that mistake.
I'm sorry, but this is what we have in the record.
No, I know, but
I-
I'm saying, why should I say that I made a mistake if I didn't do it? Especially when it comes to a check and money.
Cynthia's calling.
Because, okay,
All right.
Is it coming up?
Yes,
Oh.
he's in.
Okay, just move.
Yeah, yep. Jeremy?
Well,
Hi, Jeremy. Sorry to bother you.
that's all right. So,
Well, we're talking about the violation of the New York City Charter and city bylaws, and whether Bernadette's action delayed the payment for the venue for the annual Juneteenth event. What
Okay.
role did you play in that? Was it delayed because of the logo, or was it just a delay in providing the check? Do you recall?
I I mean, I think it was regarding the logo. I mean, I know I was okay with only going so far. But at some point, Harry and I were like, no, we're gonna write the check. I mean, I checked with Jeanette Wilson before, make sure there wouldn't be any problem with it. But
Did at any time Bernadette tell you to hold the check until the logo issue was resolved?
no, I don't know. I'd have to think about it for one.
Yeah,
yeah.
let's move on.
All right, thank you, Jeremy.
Thanks.
We'll call you for anything, but we
All right.
won't be bothering you.
All right, yep.
All right.
Okay, the Just Homes Public Hearing Apology Letter, this by unanimous full board vote and being advised by the bylaw procedure for public statements. Chair Ferrera directed the dissemination of a public non-apology and did not reflect the unanimous vote of the board and did so without board input, a flagrant violation of the bylaw of the board. To be clear, this was not an ethic violation or a code of conduct violation. It was an express violation of the bylaws of CB 11. And listen, I was bothered by that. My position is once the board makes a decision, it's a done deal, right? But let's have a discussion.
I have nothing to discuss on this one.
I have nothing to discuss.
Joe,
No, I have nothing.
Hazel? Okay, we'll move on. And we'll wait after we finish the rest of the books and then we'll go
Okay.
on this one, okay? The EI committee, the chair neglected to make a committee appointments in a timely manner and did so only after unremitting requests. The discussion.
I don't have anything.
Nothing.
Joe, anything?
Now, if this is the case,
What do you mean if this is the case?
well, she did in fact neglect to make committee appointments in a timely fashion.
Mhm.
Because it delays the activity of the board, but is there any factual proof to this?
Yep, we have emails.
Mhm.
Yes, we have
Yes.
emails. Emails
Factual
basically where things left off at the end of February, then the April full board vote. There were emails about people who are interested in it. I have all of them. Then the way things were left off was, the ball was in at everybody else's court to do what Jeremy, I mean, he made a very good point. Check with the past DEI, Lisa Soto and I think Burnell or Dragatis. And speak to them first. He gave them the names, he gave them the phone numbers. And then during all of that time, which would be like May and June, there were no emails that crossed my path. Okay, there were no emails. There was nothing from Jeremy. We were dealing with the city of Yes. We were dealing with what were the priorities. And then I got the email from Cynthia that basically had said that I would like to I'd like to be a member on the DEI committee. I was like, okay, great. And then I asked, has there been a mission statement or just a description of the committee? Because that's something that we need to tell people that, even though everybody's like, well, the title is self-explanatory. I said, one or two sentences to say, what's your mission statement? What's your goals? And then we could, move forward with it, and it did. So the time in between, basically, the ball was left in the court of the people who were interested, the committee board members who were interested in the DEI committee and whatever information that they found. And nothing crossed my path.
Who was supposed to make the phone calls and get all this information?
We were waiting for a mission, waiting to feedback from what phone calls that were supposed to be made.
Who was supposed to make them?
Those who were interested. There was an email, 1 through 5, that basically came out in February. 12 from Miguel. This is what he proposed, and after that, Serena was interested, Cynthia, Naomi, then Jeremy said, it went to explain, yes, it ended without success, in my opinion, before creating the wheel, consider pitching attainable goals, some of which may be achieved through an existing committee such as education culture. May also want to speak to past members of the previous equity committee about why they think it didn't do as well as it could have. Dorel, for example, who had chaired the committee, is willing to speak to any of you if you want. And then there was a lot of back and forth until at this point, where did I intercede? The last one was from Jeremy on February 13th with Dorel's number.
So Bernadette, the request for the DEI committee was initially made when?
It was approved in the April full board.
And when did we start taking action on that?
Well, I did not start taking action because there were still questions that were coming from February. And I've explained this more than once. Cynthia, you could leave, okay?
What? What?
I am.
Oh, wait a minute.
What happened?
What happened?
Yeah, this, I explained this. I explained, and
So
the head shaking and the.
Okay,
Stop.
listen.
That gallery.
Yeah, yeah.
All right.
Okay,
Bernadette?
I'm going to ask respectfully that this committee not be made a joke.
I agree.
Okay, I'm respectfully going to ask that this committee not be made a joke. We had the information. It was our responsibility to review the information. Bernadette had a chance at the first meeting to give all of her responses. The few things that we were supposed to follow up on, we got an email regarding today. We can read that email if necessary. I would really like to, and I think part of the reason here, and I'm going to speak very bluntly, is it's very hard to sit through something when you do feel the outcome is a foregone conclusion. It's very hard to sit through something where your intelligence is being insulted repeatedly. It's very hard to sit through something where someone who is here to respond to whether or not they should remain in a leadership position tells a gallery member who is also a board meeting member that they can leave. We have to take control of this committee, or we have to dissolve it.
That was an outburst nobody was expecting.
So, I
Okay.
mean,
So let's move on. Then we're going to move on to,
Yeah.
the chairperson has failed to notify the committee members of committee resignations. In some cases, after she has rejected resignations and new appointments in violation of committee board bylaws. Does the committee have anything to add?
No, I have nothing to
No.
add.
No.
Hazel, anything?
No, because I have no idea what resignations or rejections or whatever they're talking about, so I have nothing to add.
I think one of the resignations had to do with the bylaws committee. David resigned and apparently there was conversation going back and forth between David and Bernadette, where Bernadette was trying to convince them to stay on. That was a discussion there.
Oh, okay.
Sounds like a reasonable discussion.
Okay, so is there any more discussion on that? Well,
For the record, we already discussed this last meeting.
so let's vote.
Let's do it.
Yes.
Okay, so starting with violations of New York City Charter and CB bylaws, the chair has demonstrated continue with.
I would like to vote on two as a whole and not in bullet points.
I agree.
Yeah.
Okay,
So how do you want to vote?
so I think the motion, well, he's gonna vote and then we're gonna do the motion. I'm voting, yes, there was a violation in the New York City Charter and CB 11 bylaws.
I am voting yes.
Joe?
Well, if there is a documented violation of the code of conduct, it has to be taken seriously. And if there was a violation, then yeah, we have to hold somebody accountable.
So what's your vote, Joe?
It's a hard one. I'm gonna abstain from this vote. Because I'm not sure. There's just too many elements involved here.
Hazel? We'll come back to you, Joe.
Um, I'm gonna have to say yes, only because I feel very strongly about the Just Homes, what that whole fiasco. And I can't, I can't take the whole thing apart because I don't think that there was a lot of miscommunication regarding the DEI committee. And if some people were given responsibilities and they didn't follow through, I don't really see how that's the chair's fault. The David's resignation, that is kind of about it. I didn't even know that I knew he had resigned way after he did. So I don't know whose responsibility it was to tell everybody, but if it was her responsibility, she failed on that part. So I'm gonna have to say, yes, there is a violation, but only because of the Just Homes.
And I say yes, there was a violation. Moving on to Ethic Committee
May
concern.
may I ask the chair something? Can we be respectful? This is not an easy thing for anybody here to be dealing with, any of us. Any kind of, indications or whatever, I know it's hard for everybody, if we could just be respectful.
What are you
So that
referring?
we're not going to trigger anyone else.
I,
I'm talking to you and all I see and is, from the gallery or whatever is this and whatever. And it's like, I can't block that out. It's very hard for me to be able to block that out. So that's why, I'm just asking that so that I can stay focused and respect.
So all we can do is ask the gallery to refrain from making any physical movements that might indicate that you're.
I don't know. That's all. Yeah, no, that's what you can do. All right. So we can't see behind us, so I don't know. So.
My brother fights for us every day.
Okay, let's move on to the Ethics Committee concerns.
This is not easy for any of us.
It's not.
This is really new to us, so,
No, but nothing is going on back here.
okay, well, I don't know, because I,
No,
my back is being like-
Nothing was funny.
Of course, I'm giving you.
Would like to.
I'm really sorry.
Number three.
All right, guys, enough
Ethics
from the
Committee
gallery.
concerns.
Let's move on.
Number three, Ethics Committee concerns. The chair may use of committee board resources for non-board business. For example, Chair Ferrer demanded repeatedly that DM Warnicki provide personal contact information for a fellow board member in order to discuss non-board business. Additionally, the chair directed DM Warnicki on several occasions to contact this board member on her behalf. As a result of the response of the board member in regard to this matter, Ms. Ferrer filed an ethics complaint against her, requesting her community board membership be invalidated. Any question, discussion for this committee?
No.
Joe, anything?
No.
Hazel?
I have no idea what this is about. I can't make a comment.
Apparently, there was a discussion that took place at the Van Nest, her organization, and she reached out to Christine regarding that particular. There was, I guess, there was
Just
kind of
screen grab, there was a screen grab that I needed because I needed to have my due diligence.
We wanted to show it to you
my
that
own-
day, and you were too busy to look at it at that point. And then afterwards, you wanted to see it, and then She couldn't reach her. She texted her and didn't get a response. And then she reached out to Jeremy to provide her with another contact information.
No, to provide, just to forward the email because I didn't have an email.
This was something that was brought to the Ethics Committee by
Right.
both Christine and Bernadette, and this is something that is on video
Mhm.
that can substantiate and directly shed light on bullet point 1.
Any further discussion? Yes.
Oh, okay, no,
But I'm just making note that this happened in November of 2022.
And your point is you were not chair then?
oh, you were in chair when this happened, okay.
That was January 26, 20.
So why did,
But the
Why is this-
issue not is whether she was chair. The issue is whether this took place. Whether she wanted information to reach
yeah, but this,
Steve.
I don't know why this has any bearing on this hearing. We're talking about her
Her
as
as chair.
chair, not her as non-chair. This should not have even been discussed here. This should have been null and voided. This has nothing to do with anything, her as chair. This happened before that, when she was just a member. I have also reached out to Jeremy to get me contact information when I needed, to talk to another member. I don't see what the point is. This should never have been allowed in this at all.
any further discussion?
No, I don't have one.
I just totally agree with that.
Can I say something?
No, I don't think so.
No.
In this committee, we allowed conversation. In this committee, we allowed conversation and regarding things that spoke to the character of the individual. And I wasn't aware of whether Bernadette was chair or not when this took place. But I think that it makes sense that it is included because it speaks to judgment. Just my opinion.
Any further conversation, discussion? Moving on, the chair was observed electioneering at the Morris Park, New York Public Library branch when confronted about this abuse of public space in which electioneering is prohibited. The chair asked a member of the board whom she barely knew to defend her. This is a clear violation of several rules and regulations. Any discussion?
Yeah, this was something that was answered. That Jeremy sent, right?
Yeah,
Number 5.
Yep. This is quote, I asked a former employee of the New York Public Library how they would respond to this question. His answer, quote, the library does not condone electioneering of any kind in library spaces. But that probably hasn't stopped politicians from trying, especially out in front of the branches, end quote.
Any conversation? Any questions?
No.
Okay, moving on to the next bullet point. The chair disseminated a campaign flyer that said that as community board chair, she had stood up to certain elected persons and took a position on issues, which is a very clear violation of the board's bylaws. Any comments on that?
No.
This is pretty clear cut.
Hmm?
This is pretty clear cut.
And what does that mean, Joe?
That means that in fact that she was electioneering at the board,
At the board?
No.
the board meeting.
No, she was elected at the public library.
Yes.
No,
This is
to
in
do
front
with
of
the
the-
flyer.
Oh, flyer?
We're talking about.
Oh,
There's no discussion, let's move on.
No.
Okay, the chair disseminated a campaign flyer that said that as community board chair, she had stood up to certain elected persons and took a position on issues
Wait,
which,
just did that one.
we did that one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, the chair promoted and then demoted a member of the public to a position of community member of the housing committee within 4 days due to Facebook postings supporting a political opponent. Any discussion on that one?
I'd like to hear the explanation for that one.
Um,
The chair promoted, then demoted, a member of public.
okay, is this
Bob
Robert
Preston.
Fred? Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, this was an issue that we had with Robert. When when Bernadette and I had wanted to, get Robert to be a committee member of my community member of the housing committee. And, you know, it wasn't happening as fast as I wanted because a lot of people were against it. And I finally spoke to Bernadette about it. And, we agreed that he could come on, but I had a discussion with him about posting stuff like against the community board since he was now a community member of the community board. And unfortunately, there was a post put up on his page, I think it was his page, like a couple of days after him and I spoke about it. So Bernadette and I felt that, you know, we should take him off because he kind of violated what him and I had spoken about. But then after that, we had another discussion and him and I came to an agreement. I think maybe, I don't know, if he misunderstood what I had said the first time, I don't know. But because I really wanted him on the housing committee, he is an asset to me, regardless of what anybody else may think. And we reappointed him and now he is a community member of my housing committee. So I don't know, I don't even know why this is here either. It was an issue that came up and it was discussed and it was resolved. So I'm not sure, I don't know why this is here either.
Richard, anything?
no, I have nothing. I think for this number 3, though, I mean, I want to clarify, and someone help me with bullet 1. Did that ethic complaint go through the ethics complaint stage? Was it resolved? Yeah, was it processed?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, that's what I wanted.
Sorry, I was.
No, it's fine. No, it's fine. I just need someone else.
When there was a process that they come to any conclusion on this? On Robert Press?
No, the Robert Press, no, that didn't go to committee. I mean, to ethics committee. The first bullet where the chain made use of board resources for non-board business, et cetera, et cetera. That one went. And I believe, I don't know what the outcome was. Bernadette, what was the outcome for bullet 1? Do you remember? When it went to
What, the chair, what?
the ethics complaint?
The one with Christine?
Yes. I
Um,
know.
Robert Press.
Here. I don't recall.
There had to be an apology. I think I did do an apology. I'm not sure. I'd have to go back on my emails.
Can I ask someone from the gallery, Chair?
Go ahead.
What, may I ask a question?
All right, yeah, we gotta go back and look.
What was the said apology? Did it happen?
Yes.
Okay, okay,
Everything I've heard.
okay, cool.
So if this was resolved, I don't understand why
It's here.
it's included.
Well, I mean, I'll say this, I think when folks draft up resolutions, it's not up to us to kind of strike through which ones are valid and not. We have to go through all of them. One can say, she didn't smile at me and we have to talk about it. So I think the issue sometimes, I think, with resolutions here or anywhere else in the body of this nature, we have to treat them all seriously.
Okay,
So, yeah, it's unfortunate.
So I think we're done with number 3.
Yep.
Let's go with number 4, violation of community board code of conduct.
No, we have to vote on 3.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. You're right. Okay. How are we voting on 3? Joe, you want to start?
It's just,
On all of them?
on all points, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I just don't feel that there's enough here to really move on this. In my opinion, it's things that happen during the day, during an organization. It's all organizational. And people have worked their way through all of these areas. And they come to conclusions that seem to work for them, that work for the board. So my opinion is there's no foundation.
Hazel?
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I don't see a violation. These are things that were already, at least two of them were already resolved. So I don't see a violation.
Rich?
I'm voting nay.
Jeanette?
As the third bullet point is clearly a violation of our bylaws, which definitely applies to the community board. I believe there was violations.
And my vote is no. Moving on to number 3, violation of community board code of conduct. Number 4. Sorry. Chair Ferrer has shown disrespect in front of fellow board members via email. In one instance, reminding them the 90-day introductory period was still in effect. This introductory period is not a probationary period, and the chair has no penal power within it. Any discussion, questions?
Um,
In fact, let me read the next 2, 'cause I think they all go together. Next 3. She has referred to board members as political operatives to dismiss their voices and cause chaos and division. Chair Ferrer decisively referred to a new board member's proposed framework of City of Yes as activism for sharing the emails without her explicit approval. Any discussion?
When you read this, what did you think about it?
I could read you my response.
I want to have your response.
In the email today, also, I believe there is a response to this that shows
That means-
verification that it occurred.
Did you actually threaten people? Did you actually say, look, it's a 90-day introductory period and
I was
I can
actually,
make a decision whether to keep you or to let you go?
no. I was basically, it came up in conversation and I basically said, we have a 90-day introductory period. I was actually reading, it says from our new bylaws, that we talked about that and that there was no threat that I insinuated from this. I was just saying, you're still in an introductory period. And I guess, he took offense to that, saying, well, are you threatening? I'm like, I was just making mention. This is the first time I ever mentioned, because this was a new bylaw in section 3 under new members. So it was obviously interpreted differently, but that it was just stating it for a fact that, you're still new, you're still getting new into this. It's a 90-day, I said the 90-day, I wish I had never said it, 90-day introductory period, and it got taken in an offensive manner.
Well, I could kind of see why though.
That's what it says right here in our bylaws. It's in section 3 in our bylaws.
I know, but to reminding somebody who's new that there's a 90-day period that they can be terminated.
No. Terminated? No, never said that. I can't terminate somebody. That's the borough president that does that.
So I guess to Joe's point, why did you?
There was a part of the discussion, we were discussing, there was a discussion. I can't even remember exactly what the discussion was, but it was not said even with a nasty tone. It was just bringing up the fact that, you know, in our bylaws, we have a 90-day introductory period. And upon completion of the survey, the board chair and new members will have a dialogue to determine final placement. That's what's in our bylaws, right? It was obviously misinterpreted. I'm not saying that, you know, there was no threat. There was no threat. I do not have the power to do that. And I know that.
Yeah, but it was ambiguous. To me, it was.
But it was,
Don't say it. That's not something.
It depends on the context of the
Yeah, conversation.
conversation, and we weren't there.
Yeah.
Perception sometimes can be a fun thing. I just don't understand why somebody would get offended. You call them an activist. I think that's kind of what we all are.
We all are activists. We wouldn't be
and
here.
I tried in the letter, I tried in my email basically to say that, you know,
Well, we have a screen grab here.
If for the same person, you mention a 90-day period, you mention activism, you mention political operative, and you disseminate their home address, if all of this happens with the same individual, maybe that individual is not too far off base to have some concerns. Because if any or all of those things happened in our workplaces, we'd be answering to HR. I think that again, and I'm going to go back to at some point, there has to be some accountability. There can be perception, there can be misinterpretation, but if there is a series and a pattern, then maybe all sides should really take a serious look at it so that it can be better.
Mhm.
may I respond because
Yeah,
the
of course.
political, well, I'm asking so nobody
ahead.
takes me incorrectly.
I mean,
Well,
okay, please talk.
okay, the political operative, like I had explained, here is the screen grab. The highlights were not done by me, they were done by Ed Perez, okay? He obviously went through all of my Ferrara for city council and was looking for something and found something. And, you know, this is my campaign page. This is not Chair Ferrara. This is my campaign page. And I had asked that you can go back to the video for March. And I asked at the ethics because he filed a complaint and I asked at the ethics, I said, can you give me the screen grab? I said, because political operatives is not in my, it's not in my terminology. I don't use that. I don't use that term. And he said, yeah, and he sent it to me because he asked me, you know, and because I wanted to see it. And I said, wow. I said, what happens and what happens and it, you know, you could all do your homework. When you're running a campaign, a lot of stuff on your social media basically, you know, gets done by either your strategist or your campaign manager responses. I did not respond to this. Hey, this was not me. But you know, that if I'm accountable for everything, then this is not something that I saw. Okay, the first time I saw this is when it was shown to me when I asked to see it and then send it to me by email. Because I needed to see what he was talking about. I can't even, there's no date on this. I can't even go back. It probably would have to go back for a whole year or whatever to see when this was actually posted.
You know, I went back and I looked at the tape and I was confused about something. Because I believe Mr. Perez said that that piece came out in March. And he came on the board in April. So I'm wondering if we can clarify that, because if that's true, and then obviously it was, unless you knew in advance that he was going to be coming on the board in March.
We don't, chairs, just so you know, chairs do not really get all of the information from the borough's president's office about who comes on the board and who doesn't. There might be a discussion if the chair wants to discuss it, but doesn't matter if the chair picks, it has a few that it doesn't matter that that's not how it ends up. The final decision is always the borough
When
president.
did that post appear? What month?
Honestly, I don't know. There's no, on the post itself, it doesn't have a date. That's what I want. That's why I'd asked him. And I can't find it on my page. So I don't know. I don't know. And I just wanted to make sure everybody knew that the word political and political operatives, I did not highlight.
Quick question on, Chair Farrar referred to a new board member's proposed framework on the city of Yes's activism for sharing the email of our explicit approval. Do we have evidence of that? Is there? Chair?
What? I didn't mean.
No, for the,
And the next bullet point.
as activism for sharing the email of our explicit approval. Did you respond to that, Bernadette?
Referred to a new board member's chair, or is this basically referred to?
Just
a new board
activism.
member's- For sharing the email without her. The only time I was an email where, I had, I think I had, and I do have it here. Where I complimented his passion and his activism, and this is the result of it. So, and then I was trying to explain what I call myself an activism, because if I have passion about something, I'm an advocate. I take action on it. I'm an activist. Okay, you take action on it. His interpretation was different. And so I said, I'm sorry if I made it sound that way, but this is how I use the word. I mean, I know the words that I use and how I use them, most of them anyway. But I'm always open, if I say something that puts somebody on the defensive, etc. I'm open to listen to that. So that's the only thing that I can say was when that happened, and then there were emails that went back and forth. And I tried, as I'm trying to explain right now, I tried to say that the word activism was not said in a negative way. If anything, it was, it was people who are passionate and they take action.
Any further conversation on that?
No,
Yes,
Yeah, I read the email that she's talking about because it was sent to me. And I couldn't understand why he was offended by that either. So I think it's just perception again.
let's move on. Chair Farrar referred to her political opponent staff member as a Patsy White campaign manager.
I don't even know which one that is. That's the same, I forgot to ask him to send that one to me. But again, I did not write that. I did not write that. And I'm not going to say, I'm not going to say that I wrote it just because, yes, I should have been watching every single thing that was going on. But unfortunately, in a campaign, it's like hyper, things are moving very quickly. Sorry if that sounds like an excuse, but that's exactly how things had planned out, had worked out.
Any further discussion? Let's move on. The chair has continually used her power to appoint committee members and their chairs or co-chairs as a tool to guarantee votes to needs matters for her personal agenda and not for those of the majority of the board members or the community we serve.
What background did this come from? What's the background for this statement? If yes, how would you know this?
Yeah, I kind of take offense to that myself.
Yeah, me too. I'm kind of offended by this also. So where did this come from? What
You
context?
will have to ask the person who wrote it. I have my answer here. I said,
At a previous meeting, someone shared that when people are in different positions in committees and organizations, that they act and build and rely on resources. I think that this again can be perception. But I think every one of us have been in situations, both on jobs, organizations, and committees, where when people have the ability to appoint, they appoint with their best interests in mind. So I don't think this is egregious or outrageous. I think it is human nature. And I think it happens. And I think it happens not just here, but everywhere. So I don't think that this is terrible. I think it is a fact of how things operate in the world.
Well, I don't know. I've been chair for a long, long time. And I've never supported Bernadette in any campaign. Or anything. I've worked together with her on different projects. But I don't really know of anybody who has any particular power, persuasive power, political power, dollar power, that's been chosen to be a chairperson. I know Hazel hasn't. I know I haven't. I don't know about you, but I've got a feeling you haven't either. So how did you find, or how did they find substance in this?
I think that perhaps when we get to the gallery, we might hear the response to that. I could be wrong, but I believe that maybe when we get to the gallery, we will hear the response to that. I also think that we do have to go back to more than half of this board thought that there was a substantive reason to form this committee. So people must be seeing something, or we wouldn't be sitting here right now.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. My hearing.
What I am saying is that I think we have to go back to the beginning, and more than half of the full board voted, and that's why this committee was formed. So people are clearly seeing issues that they think are important enough to put us all through this experience.
No, these are important issues to
Yes.
discuss.
Mhm.
But sometimes I'd like to find out what the background is, or who wrote it, and what kind of clarification can they give us? And I really don't see that from the people that chair most of our boards. Now, if somebody new came in, maybe that's the impression they got. But as far as the people I know that chair the boards have no special interests, and they have no special guarantees. And they weren't chosen because they do, or have political powers or financial powers.
But the bylaws were changed, weren't they? To now the committee, once it's formed, they pick the chairs, vice chairs as a result of this, right?
Yes.
Any further discussion before we move on? Okay, chair responded to multiple Facebook inquiries of community members in an unprofessional manner.
I have no idea what that.
Okay, who can explain that?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm good at this.
you good on that?
Yeah.
All right, so let's go ahead and vote on number 4. Was there a violation?
Well, my vote is no. This is,
I have a question.
this thing is pretty cloudy to me here.
Sorry to interrupt. The Edward Perez ethics complaint. Was there a resolution at the end of that?
Yes,
What was it?
I
Please?
apologize.
It was in favor.
that's what I provided.
Uh-huh.
And, what is that, provides, apology.
Did that
And
happen?
that happened. We were supposed to do a privacy, course, sorry.
Okay.
Very good. We'll start this side this time, Jeanette.
I believe there was a violation.
Rich?
I'm going nay.
Joe?
Oh,
Yes or no?
no.
Hazel?
No,
And I vote no. Number 5, questionable handling of critical community issues. Chairperson Ferrera's involvement in matters such as the proposed men's shelter on White Plains Road and rezoning activities, especially in her dual role as president of Van Ness Neighborhood Alliance and CB11 chair, presents questions regarding transparency and potential bias. Budgetary requests submitted by her were only for Van Ness, to the detriment of other communities that she represents as a CB member and chair. Any discussion on that?
Yeah.
Wait, what?
May I just say that I think I did, out of the 13 budget submissions, not all of them were from Van Est. And actually, I have that here. So that's why I was confused. They were asked to submit. I, submitted there were 13 out of the 13. A community center, Boys and Girls Club is needed for Van Ness, Morris Park, and Pelham Parkway. New York NYPD program request for the 49 precinct. That's not just for Van, it's for all of Community Board 11. The AC retrofit had been on there for a while for PS 481. That was a request that rolled over. Middle school needed within Community Board 11. Okay. Return of Van Ness Library to the Van Ness neighborhood. That's been on there also. Renovation of Van Ness Park extension. Provide more youth and summer programs in Van Ness Park and Matthew Mulliner Park, but that could actually be for all of our parks, Laredo Park, etc. NYPD program request for the 49 precinct. Additional street lighting along MTA wall. That's Van Ness. More pest control for rat infestation in parks. That's for everything in Community Board 11, the rat infestations. More health inspectors to invest the rat infestations in residential properties. Graffiti removal on commercial corridors. Trash cans needed on Morris Park Avenue. So looking through all of these, I'd say maybe 4 were Van Ness and the rest were really broad strokes.
Any questions, committee?
No, Morris Park Avenue was sort of Van Ness also.
Well, it's
Yeah,
our,
but
we
it's-
share a corridor. Right, we share a
No, you do.
corridor.
Okay, moving on to the next bullet point, the chair failed to convene in a timely manner critical meetings on the city of Yes proposal, leading to missed deadlines and effectively abrogating our responsibilities to represent our community.
Why did that take so long?
I think we first got information, I think one of the first emails, I think I went back to check on this. As a new chair, a lot of this, I asked Oral about the carbon neutrality because I wanted to know when it had come, as a board member that was still here, when did we get it? What information? That came in 2022. And that was barely touched on. But that's also because that was a broad stroke, so that they went on. I think I asked Oral, I can get his wordage. But I think when things were coming were in May or the beginning of June. And there was emails sent out to all the board members. All the board members got the information at the same time that the chair did. And that was a priority. So things were starting. That's why we had that public hearing in July, right? July 10th, wasn't that July 10th? So, the information was coming to me when it was coming to all of the board members. And there was a lot of things that were happening all at once. I really don't know any other way between things that came to Jeremy, that came to me, that needed to get out, that needed to get started, that needed to get to housing, that needed to get to land use, that needed to get, there was just so much that needed to be sorted, etc. Nothing was held back. So things weren't brought up if, we started when we started. I don't know how else to answer that.
I think a lot of people jumped in.
Any questions? Any input?
I have more to add, not on the city of Yes, but handling of critical community issues. And this is new information here. For the Metro North vote, we made a letter. And at the 12th, maybe 11th hour, said letter that Serena and Malcolm worked on was delayed because for some reason we added a bunch of community letters attached to it when that wasn't the vote. And this is, I don't think most folks know about this, so, because I'm on the email. So,
I was on that email.
okay, I've been reading it right now. Why did you persist on trying to send out the letter that Serena and Malcolm worked on with attached community letters when that wasn't the vote?
Well, I went back to the video. Because I wanted to see, when we were discussing, because it was at the end of the video. I did not, honestly, I did, we were discussing more important things like the detailed stuff that was going to go in for the motions along with, giving the letter, et cetera, handing the letter over to be discussed and to be written. So that was the priority. But towards the end of the video, because I basically had said that the letter was going to be uploaded with attachments. Okay. With attachments, that was the community letters as support. So the miscommunication actually came from city planning. I asked a specific question and Paul Phillips, basically this week we had a conference call. And I asked him, I said, Paul, I asked the question because I don't know what it looks like when you upload. And I know there had been problems before, the actual final letter up to the portal. I don't have a visual. So I said, is there an upload option that we can put the community letters with, along with the letter of recommendation? He said, I have to get back to you. So we had a conversation. I don't have it. I just have the email where he said, Bernadette, what's your number? Let's talk about it. I asked specifically because the letters were support letters, the ones that supported our recommendation, not all of them. So I just want to continue to finish.
Go ahead.
So I feel that then when I had the conference call with Jeremy last week, which is of course after April 1st, I said, what happened with the upload option? I wanted to know what I was told, first of all. He said, well, I thought you were going to send it all as one letter. I said, no, I never ever said that. It was, a different PDF with, would be community support letter from organizations. So he said, oh, no, I didn't understand that. I thought you said, I said, no, I never said that. It was a misunderstanding. So that's why just a letter of recommendation went up there.
From the board.
From the board, yeah. So but there was a back and forth email, saying that we didn't discuss that. But it should have been more, I agree, it should have been more discussed in that, when we were talking about the letter. Okay, on that Tuesday. It should have been more discussed. I thought I had, and honestly, I only mentioned it at the end because I looked to see, did I say it in the beginning? And then we went right into the checklist that had to go on the agenda and then more discussion. So
So I'm a little confused. So then it's a full board decision.
to send a letter with conditions.
Correct.
Right.
That's it. That's the letter that we're supposed to send.
Okay.
And
so
it did get
once-
sent.
But at 11 something PM, the night of our deadline being midnight, I would say 6 other letters from the community were going to be attached with the community board letter that wasn't voted on.
But that was not gonna be attached to it. It was gonna be separate option, which
So
that,
then why wasn't
Is
the,
that the resolution?
Okay, it's part of the questionable handling of critical community issues.
Not the 2 bullet points.
No, it's not.
That's a new item?
It's not a new item.
Well, it's evidence
It's a
to
question.
the
But
question.
if-
But it's not
These are
part
two
of this
things that we have to
discussion.
Vote on.
It's not-
Anyone can bring up anything at any time for any number. Just because these are sub bullets to the number, you can bring up whatever you want. This is not the only evidence in the packet. That's why Ellie has other email questions here that we have been using as evidence. So the evidence isn't just this, it's whatever we can find and we can ask and get questions to.
if we're saying that if the resolution states that one of the reasons that we want Bernadette to step down is because of this, and she is still doing it, how could that not be pertinent to this committee?
Well, I am looking at what's in front of.
No, I don't think,
That's
I
what I'm
don't think
saying.
he knows about this.
I don't know anything
Yeah,
about this.
that's what, and
I know
that's,
nothing about
that's
this.
why I've asked.
This is my focus here.
yeah, and that's why I asked for the record. This is being recorded. What was the situation like? Obviously, we're a committee, we could
Yes,
think whatever.
generally as a board member, I read, and there are many of them. There are several every day from the community board. I read all of them. Because I am on this committee and because this committee is as important it is, I make sure that I pay attention to anything that can have relevance to what is happening
So what are you
here.
saying? That I'm
I'm
not?
saying, no,
What?
no,
What are you
I'm
saying?
saying that what Rich brought up is very relevant and it's worth listening to and weighing. Because if the behavior specified here is still happening, that should be a concern to everyone. I'm not saying what anyone is or isn't doing. I'm saying that what Rich brought up is very pertinent to what we are discussing now.
I was not aware of any of it.
No, that's why I brought it up and I asked her what happened there. And, you know, obviously, it's not something I could have disseminated fast enough. It's just, it just happened like 7 days ago, 10 days ago. I'm good to move on.
Yes.
Does anybody want to add to that? Joe, you want to comment on what?
You guys can ask for clarification.
Yeah.
I think we sort of beaten it to death.
Okay, so those are the 2 bullet points there, right?
Mhm.
So let's vote on that. Questionable handling of critical community issues, yes or no? Joe, we'll start with you.
It's been a while. I mean, I really don't know. I'm going to abstain from this one.
Hazel?
I'm gonna say no. She proved that the first one is not accurate. The budgetary requests submitted were not just for Van Nest.
Mhm.
And as far as the city of Yes, I hate to admit it, but there were a lot of us that dropped the ball on it. I can't put all the blame on her. So I'm gonna say no, no violation.
I'm voting yes on the questionable handling of critical community issues. Because of the Metro North situation that just unfolded a couple of weeks ago, which I thought, when it happened, it kind of blew my socks off. I woke up at 5 in the morning the next day and said, how can this still be happening? It's one of those things where you wake up and go, how? But I'm voting yes, yes. What, do clarification?
No, I do want clarification on that because from what I understand, I don't think it was just her decision.
We voted on a letter
We voted
at
on the letter,
board.
voted on the letter,
Correct.
but
And that goes back to the
it
other.
wasn't just her decision to send the letter without the attachments.
It was, yes, the whole board decided not to send
I
it.
understand that.
Okay, so I don't know who's supposed to say, send this out, or don't send this out.
I'm just saying, that's all I'm gonna say.
No, I hear you, but I'm trying to realize, and this is what the issue is. Who makes a decision of what goes out with what? When we have a full board, a full board vote, sorry about that.
the full board vote was to send out a letter with, the letter with conditions.
That's it.
And then first of all, I'm just gonna point this out, that the letter, you know,
We're
should have,
not with
was supposed to get to at least by Friday or Saturday so that board members can read it beforehand to input. And it didn't. It was submitted at 1 o'clock on Monday. Jeremy got it. We got it at 1 o'clock on Monday. The video shows it. I did not give clarification about the attachments. But I had said that the letter would go out with attachments. With the not attached to the letter. Our letter is separate for Community Board 11. The attachments were supports from organizations that supported our letter. So I thought that there was my question to Paul was, is there an option so that if Jeremy or Harriet are uploading, which I have no idea because I've never done it, is there an option to upload those letters to support? He said, yes, there was. I did make mention, and it was towards the end of the video, and I was sitting right here, and I said, submitting the letter with attachments. I should have clarified more, but by that time, everybody was tired. I did not bring it up. I did not, I did not bring it to detail. That was my error with that, because then we could have discussed it at the point, and then I could have had maybe a better question to say, that was the information that I got.
I'll say this.
Actually,
Yeah.
that was misinformation from, I asked as clear as I could when I asked about attachments, not attached to Community Board 11s, but in support of. So,
I'll say this, that you had the opportunity at the full board to clarify, you didn't. I don't think we're splitting hairs, it's just intent. That's all this question's about. It's about intent. And whether it was an exact quote or not, the question is, what was the intent? Because we had a full board vote for a letter without attachments, and for the record, we used the Van Ness letter that you provided as a template. That's the one that Serena and Malcolm worked on off of, which was, I think folks compromised with that. They said, okay, we're gonna use Van Ness as the template because we're gonna get all of our information in one letter and send out, and that's what we voted on. What happened after obviously happened, but that's why I'm voting yes on 5.
I am also voting yes on 5 because in my opinion, I think it is incorrect in the first one that the chair only submitted budgetary requests for Van Ness, but I think that a fair proportion did go to Van Ness. I don't have not only. So I think that's incorrect. I think a fair portion did, but not
You
all.
want to count them?
And
I'm gonna
on
count
the
Yeah, can you count them?
second point,
we have a request.
can I finish speaking first?
Yeah, so you have,
Thank you.
I'll do this thing in time.
Okay, and the second, absolutely yes. So my vote is yes.
Well, I'm split. Because for me, the first one is a no, and the second one is definitely a yes. So. Joey,
You abstained.
you abstained? I'm going to vote no. Number 6, dereliction of duty and retribution.
Hold on, I asked for.
I'm sorry.
To report, I asked for her to count them for me.
Well, the item says we're only for Van Ness.
Right, for
We're
only.
There's
You come up
5.
with
It's not
one,
5.
then it's
5 out of
stable.
13.
So that is an incorrect statement right there.
Which I stated.
Yes, we did.
It was wrong.
She did. Number 6, dereliction of duty and retribution. Particularly during her campaign for city council.
Do we,
Huh?
just to interrupt, do we need to, unless folks want to discuss this one, in terms of the bullet points,
We don't.
I don't think we need to.
I'm sorry, we've done it for all the other ones.
Okay, that was to save time, because we did talk about this last time, that's why.
Okay, well, you guys can read each bullet point to yourself and tell me if you want to discuss it.
Does everybody have like the other, my, responses to this so you could read it?
Everyone did.
From last time or from?
Yeah, from last.
Yeah,
time. Yeah, it's because, I have all my attendance sheets from Jeremy,
I'm not questioning you on any of these. Right.
so that I just,
So we need to discuss number 6. You guys ready to vote on it?
Yeah, I'm rereading this.
Joe, that
Number
motion
six.
ready. Okay.
Number 6, it seems like somebody can read your mind anyway.
Well, I think, Joe, the one of the bigger issues is like the canceling of the holiday party
Mhm.
after the vote for this committee to be formed. I
Yeah.
think that was one of the.
Mhm.
And Bernadette responded to that, and she took responsibility for that.
yes,
Yeah,
Yeah, I think you have to take responsibility for that.
yes, I explained
wouldn't
it.
agree
I
with
can,
that.
if anybody wants, I can explain it again, but my point is, I said, what he said, I'm not,
okay, versus the deliberate effort to deny the full board a quorum at the November meeting.
Yeah,
I don't know how she could pull that off.
In the 2 years that I have been on the board, that was the only board meeting where quorum was taken almost a half dozen times.
Okay, well,
Well-
And that it's just a fact. I'm just stating a fact. It did delay the meeting. That even after the count was taken and retaken and then taken by vote, by voice, we just had to continue to repeat quorum. It's never happened in any other meeting. So I think it could be a fair statement.
yeah, but how could you say that she deliberately did that? I mean,
To be fair, she called for attendance.
Over and
Over-
over
yeah,
and over again.
yeah, so, but that's what we do.
We've never
In
done,
order
no,
to
I think
get
That's the only meeting we have ever done that at. That even after district manager stated there was quorum, we had to take another vote and another vote. So that is out of character. It has not happened in the 2 years. It may have happened before I was on the board, so I can't speak to that.
But then how was her asking for attendance a deliberate effort to deny the full board a quorum? I don't understand that.
I think the intent being folks leave towards the end,
Mhm.
and if folks are leaving, we won't have quorum, they won't be able to vote me to go to investigative committee.
Okay, but
I'm just clarifying what the.
no, but she was asking for quorum throughout the meeting. I don't remember. I was stuck in traffic from Long Island, so.
I was physically
But-
present. It was the meeting that I did not think ever was going to end.
It seems to me like that if there was going to be an issue with quorum, it would be in the very beginning.
Right.
yeah, that's what it starts. But I've just got to say that nobody's familiar with this because it hasn't happened in 25 years.
But I'm
So
talking
that's,
about quorum.
oh, I know,
in the
I know.
meeting Has happened before.
Especially the older members, and I'm kind of familiar with this. A quorum, because we're thinking of terminating our chair, or voting out our chair. We've never had that. So this is something pretty new.
Mhm.
And yeah, we have to get used to it. We have to get used to a new order of things, a new way of operating. And again, we've never had this.
We have I agree. And I'm also going to agree that throughout this committee, we have given both Bernadette and Al repeatedly the benefit of the doubt. Repeatedly. It is something that's new to all of us and we're struggling with this.
I'll see.
But to question, like here, I'm just, there are facts we can't dispute. At that meeting, quorum was repeatedly taken. There was delays. This motion was put at the very end of the meeting, so it was the last thing to happen on the meeting. Someone could perceive, giving people the benefit of the doubt, that it was a deliberate act so that people would leave, because some people have to work or have children and need to leave before 11 o'clock at night. So by the time that this was brought for discussion and vote, it is conceivable, giving the benefit of the doubt, that there were deliberate attempts to delay. Because also the way this board works, I don't think there's any such thing as confidentiality. I think that everyone was clear on what was going to happen at that meeting. So we are here, and now we have to deal with the facts.
So just to be clear, so you're saying that she deliberately,
I'm saying it could
Wait,
be
wait,
perceived as
can I-
such. I am not saying she deliberately.
well, that's what this is saying, that there was a deliberate effort to deny the full board quorum. So not only was she denying the board a full quorum, I probably didn't say that, right? But she was also trying to delay the meeting so that people would leave. That's diabolical.
Word strategic.
Any further discussion on number 6?
No.
Richard, have you done?
I have nothing.
Jenny, you have anything? You ready to vote? Let's start with Jeanette.
I believe there is like a clear violation.
Come to me at the end.
Okay. Hazel?
Ooh. I'm gonna say no.
Joe?
It's not good. I too, because I read several things into this. My vote is no.
Voting yes.
The only one that I would vote yes on is the holiday party. The rest I would vote no. So my answer is no.
I would vote yes on the holiday part.
No doubt about that. That's not a good act. Okay, so we're done with Bernadette.
Yeah.
So the way we voted
I wonder if they covered
on number 1, communication was no. Violation of the city charter was yes. Violation of the Board of Conduct, no. Questionable handling of critical community issues, no. Dereliction of duty and retribution, no. So it's 5 no's and 1 yes.
Wait, I missed one.
What
So what he did is he went,
No, I know what he did. I missed one.
one is the one that was against.
yes was the violation of New York City charter and bylaws.
Yeah.
The rest are no's.
Okay.
You're doing gallery session?
Do we want to do after each one, or you want to wait to the end?
Well,
Let's
if
go
we
have
give
Al.
them gallery now,
We may not
they,
be able to-
no, well, we can give them gallery now for Bernadette, time it.
Yeah.
And then we can do the same for Al, time it.
Right.
But what time do you want to do right now? How much time? It can't be too long.
Yeah, no, well, 2 minutes.
Each?
Yes.
Okay, I need to do that.
We're gonna take a 5-minute break.
Yeah, sorry.
That's a bad thing with nature.
Oh, yeah. Oh, Veronica's in.
Yep.
Good.
All right, welcome back. We're going to start our gallery session and we'll start with the people that are here in person.
Yep.
Cynthia?
Let me know when you're ready.
Are you turning?
Yep.
Yep, 2 minutes.
All right.
You got 2 minutes.
Go.
Okay, go.
With regards to communication breakdown, there's a statement that nothing goes out without my looking at it. There are multiple examples of emails that were withheld, emails from Ed, emails from Malcolm to begin with. And then meanwhile, we have emails from other board members, with recordings from Paul Graziano talking about how I think it's City of Yes is a poison pill and it's an apocalyptic reporting that went out to the full board at the request of a board member. So my question is whether or not, when the statement made between Jeremy and myself, there was always a checkpoint. Did Jeremy ever express any kind of misgivings about that policy? Because I find it difficult to believe that anyone would give an across the board, okay, sure, whatever you say. Especially when Jeremy was getting a lot of feedback from board members that this was unacceptable. With regards to DEI, once again, I will say there was a delay in getting DEI members appointed. Why? I do not know. Whether or not there was a lot of back and forth, the bottom line is in April, the DEI committee was voted in and that should have been populated almost immediately. It should not have taken as many months and as much back and forth and as, mission statement and this and that and the other thing. Unacceptable. With regards to the Juneteenth logo, there's also back and forth on that because the email thread starts with, well, we don't sponsor events.
30 seconds.
No, we don't sponsor events that don't bring money, blah, 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 blah. So there's a lot of kind of misinformation into how that's being presented. I'm sorry. Forget the process. Don't forget the process, but when you're reading the resolution, there are points that are to be given as examples.
10
And
seconds.
I think that it points to the fact that leadership is an issue. That is the bottom line. Thank you.
Naomi?
Yes, I just have some concerns about the meeting. I feel that we rehashed something that we did already previously last week, and the whole point of this meeting was to really look at the evidence and make a decision. And I think that in the future, we need to really fix the way that this type of meeting goes. I think also you should have a respondent, like since the person is Al and Bernadette are talking for themselves, there should be a representative for the resolution. I think that that's what make for, help with a lot of the back and forth and with evidence, right? That person would be responsible for getting the evidence and everything that you need and talking to Naomi and saying, did this happen, did that happen?
Mhm.
And that will all be put together for you. So that's what I would.
Okay, thank you.
Behind you.
Good, Tish.
Hi. The only thing I want to bring up is, yes, I was not at that meeting, but Bernadette had nothing to do with me and Joanne not being at that meeting. I can only speak for us. We had another event that we had to attend, which was obvious on our video. You saw us at an event. And as far as the chairs being appointed, I know my name had been brought up in the past about that. I attended the education committee meetings years before I was ever on the community board. I've always gone to those meetings. I'm still friendly with Pat Charles, who was part of that committee back then. And that's how I guess I became, and I'm a teacher. I think I'm the only one in the education field that was on the committee at the time, which is why I was appointed chair. And the same with public safety. I've been there for a long time, even before I was ever on the board. See, a lot of us have attended meetings before being appointed to the board. That's all I want to say.
Welcome.
So,
Ready?
yeah, well,
Okay.
first, before you do that, I
Huh?
think just back and forth going on in that chat, just letting you guys know this.
Where?
Something happens.
In the-
Next chat. Just for another.
Don't start it.
No, it's time since.
No, I wouldn't even do that anymore.
Just in case, you never know.
That's an old thing.
Okay. All right, go.
Other than that, I think at the end of the day, it's about leadership. It's about accountability. It's about understanding what the role of the chair is supposed to do. If you look back to this year, look at the City of Yes votes. Can any of you really say that we did our best at City of Yes? Did we miss the carbon neutrality vote? We barely missed the economic opportunity vote. We didn't even get conditions, right? when we look at Juneteenth event, yes, I got involved in that because Serena was being hounded by Bernadette, and by Jeremy, and Popsy Bernadette over the logo. So I responded to Bernadette and I asked her, please provide me any information that says that this logo cannot go on the Juneteenth flyer. To this day, I have not gotten a response. I can show you guys the email, so there's no response for her giving me that information. Instead, I was threatened. I was told, for stating bylaws, I was told that I should do what is best, I should do what's best for me and never correct her again. If that is the language that a chair and a leader takes upon a person
Do you have that?
requesting, I'm talking, who is requesting information or correction, then I'm sorry. If I take that tone with anybody at my job, I would be fired. But that is not leadership. If we can really say that under the past year and a half, that we gave our best work under the leadership of Bernadette, I could.
30 seconds.
We have not done anything under her leadership, under her stewardship. The Metro North was not done under her stewardship. Right? The reason why we had that leadership meeting after that public hearing was because I sent an email requesting that we should be at the public hearing. We would have went into the full board, not having any conditions.
10 seconds.
All I'm saying is that it is about leadership, it is about accountability, and it's about putting community first. And I cannot say that this has happened over the last 2
Time.
years.
Thank you, Malcolm. Miguel?
I just want to say, I have a question.
Ready?
So if I have a question. So if I'd like to reclaim my time. with
Okay.
Answers.
Go ahead.
All right. Thank you. Bernadette, did you not tell me that you would have a conversation with Veronica if I voted your way and the bylaws change?
Say that again? And when,
Did you not tell me that you would have a conversation with Veronica about installing me as co-chair of the Ethics Committee if I voted your way on a bylaws change?
no, if I'm gonna have, what, really?
Yes.
Really? Hmm.
Well, you
I'm not, I'm,
you've
no comment.
insinuated that all of us
No comment.
are misinformed or
No
lying.
comment.
So I'd like you to tell
No
me.
comment.
No comment?
Yes.
Okay, so good, no comment. All right, reclaiming my time from her answer.
Okay.
This is ridiculous, ridiculous. The facts are on the table. It really, I mean, the flyer said what it said. The check wasn't sent out. Like this, even Joe said, this is pretty clear to me. You know, I mean, I don't understand what people don't, I mean, Juneteenth, the pride flag, canceling Christmas, you know, there's a paper trail.
I don't,
All of this, I'm speaking,
checks.
I am speaking, well, what are
I
you in
don't-
charge of?
We still have time.
Guys, if you're going to direct it to her, then your time is gonna be used by her answer, so just state,
Yeah.
just make
My
your
time,
statement.
no, my time.
If you ask her a question and she answers, then you're giving her your time, so just make your statement
No,
and
that's not.
don't ask her a
Miguel,
question,
continue.
make
Yeah,
your
continue.
statement.
See, now you got me.
Take a breath.
What, like, you know,
I paused. Let me know when you're ready.
what in fact are you responsible for? You're not responsible for what goes out on your campaign. I'll tell you what, if I was running a campaign, I'd be damn sure to know what was being sent out in my name. You're not responsible for the checks, you're not
30
responsible
seconds.
for, what is your responsibility? And we've done nothing because of this, you know, push it off, throw it here, it's their fault. When does it come down to, you are the chair of the board? The buck has to stop somewhere.
You just gave me excuse.
Oops. All right.
Anybody
else? Who's next?
Any more comments here?
Yeah.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, let me know when you're ready.
So I heard some very, disturbing things today that I didn't even know prior to today's thing. And one of the comments that sticks out to me was that Bernadette admits to delaying appointments. And she specifically talks about Susan. Citing she had serious concerns about this, but nobody asked her why. What were those serious concerns, right? I can't imagine, what could be so serious that it would delay an appointment, right? And I don't know if you guys would like to ask her, but I'd be curious to know. On the point, that was made about, or, back and forth, right? And I think that Hazel is misinformed about really why that point was brought up, and it wasn't brought up because, of the actions that Bernadette took before she became chair. It was the action that she took once she became chair, right? Which I clearly pointed out in the meeting, right? The ethics hearing, that it was retaliation, that she was using her position now as the chair. It was abuse of power, not only with me, but also with Bob Press, the actions that she took at the moment, whether they were, rectified by some solution or not, isn't the point. The point is that Bernadette claims that she didn't have time to go over this. There was so much going on in January that this is going on. All of these things were happening.
30 seconds.
Yes, that is true. But Bernadette simultaneously had the time to file a charge against me at that very moment. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any more comments?
Things on the side.
Okay. Roxanne?
Evening, can I have a 30-second warning, please?
You got it.
Thank you. I'm speaking as a public member, and I'd just like to say I was very concerned with some things that was said at the prior meeting targeting Mr. Joe Thompson and the chair, Ilio, I'm sorry. And what distressed me the most was how Mr. Joe Thompson, who served this country and is a retired detective, his integrity and his neutrality was questioned with no evidence, and that the chair, being a lawyer who has a professional standard, also lawyers have to abide to have good standards in their personal lives because it will bear poorly on their profession if they don't act in a good faith manner. And his integrity was questioned. And I don't like how there's certain number of board members who don't get their way and question people's integrity or make very disturbing allegations to intimidate people. I don't like that. I'm sorry, but we can always disagree without having to be targeted by certain members. And regarding Bernadette, I don't have anything to say about this allegation, but I could say that I could replace her name with some board members who are used this board, not for the community's interest, but political interest, for retaliation, go against people who they don't like, or don't open the door to them for whatever reasons. And this has to stop in general. This board really needs to reflect into itself and make the changes needed, not just for Bernadette, but for everyone. Look inside, look in the mirror and see your own behavior, because this is not a good thing for the community. We have to have a community board that functions. And thank you for your time and have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Press?
Robert?
Mr. Press? Okay, we'll come back to you. Diana?
Yes, hi. 30-second warning.
Okay.
Speaking just as an observer, I hope that the committee will really think about not just the legalistic, how many emails were sent to who and when, but the issues of leadership. And one thing that I note over and over again is that there seems to be a failure to apologize. A failure to apologize for actions, maybe unintentionally, that were disturbing or discomforting to other board members. And I hope the board would want a chair that prioritizes good relationships with her board members. And I also wanted to say that if one member of the committee missed the initial meeting on Bernadette, I hope that she was able to fill in and watch the whole 4-hour video, because I think there was a lot that was discussed in that meeting that's very germane to your decisions and votes. And that's all. Thank you for doing all the hard work.
Thank you, Diana. Mr. Press? Mr. Gonzalez?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to say that when there is an investigation, there has to be a lot of legwork, a lot of research, a lot of fact checking, and I just didn't see that. I just saw I felt a lot of anger and angst against the chair, Bernadette. And I just want people to understand one thing, and I will be very brief. Uh, you can't you can't always get what you want. And that's not just here in the community board, it's anywhere. And I know that for a fact, okay? But when what I've seen, and yes, I'm going to have to reiterate what was said before, to attack the integrity of a Joe Thompson. Oh gosh, that is like unfathomable to me. With somebody who's a fellow veteran as myself, but someone who served this community with integrity, and I got to say that his rationale was very good in this committee tonight, this meeting, and also Hazel Mura, because you see the difference. You see the difference, and that's good, okay? And no, nobody's perfect, but I got to tell you something. Uh, you're not going to get everything that you want because the thermostat or the weatherman tells you one thing and something else happens. You got to be prepared to deal with things in life. And that's all I have to say. Good night, everyone.
Thank you. Mr. President.
Yes, hello. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, a couple of things. I'm glad some board members are sticking up for me, but they don't have to. Number two, the bylaws specify how committees are created. No one member or even the chair can create a committee. And I think that the current chair needed more training as to how to run the board. And even one of the new board members who has been mentioned, Mr. Edward Perez, mentioned that if you want to be on a committee like Mr. Press, just put your name in, whereas the chair had to correct him, saying that there is a process for getting for community members to be placed on a committee. Now, as for my Facebook page, a community member whom I shall not name posted something on one of my Facebook pages, which was not really different from what Borough President Gibson said to the board during a full board meeting several months ago in her 25-minute speech to the board, but it was taken down, and obviously everything was worked out. It was nothing that I wrote, it was someone else that wrote it. Finally, I'm going to say about the Metro North rezoning, the 21 recommendations to city planning that the board has sent. I am going to ask the board to reverse it to a no vote, since city planning lied to the board by it included the city of Yes for economic development by adding the second floor and above on their building of unknown height by the station, and they added the extra 20% bonus on the city of Yes for housing opportunity in the rezoning. This is before the city council has voted on either item and before they gave the city of Yes housing opportunity for even the board to vote on. So that's all I have to say right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wishes to speak in the gallery? Okay, seeing none, we're going to move on. We turn it over to the vice chair, Rich.
We're moving on to Al's resolution. We're gonna go, as we did with the previous resolution, we're gonna one at a time. This one is not as many numbers as Bernadette's, so this one should not take as long. I'll ask everyone if they want me to read it, and if the answer is no, then we can either talk about it or vote. I think that's probably the most, and that's fine if you, I could read them. It's fine if you want me to read. Okay, so, yep. The first one for Al's communication breakdowns, the resolution states, Vice Chair D'Angelo testified on behalf of himself and Bronx Community Board 11 with regards to an EEO complaint brought by District Manager Jeremy Winarski without consulting with or appraising the full board. This is an ongoing case that has not been brought to the board's attention in any fashion, given that several people given 7, given that several people, including current and former board members and others have been deposed in this case, it is unconscionable that the board has not been kept abreast of the proceedings. As the city of New York would be liable for any damages awarded, it would have been and would continue to be prudent for Mr. D'Angelo to keep the board informed. Thus, the vice chair has withheld important information with regards to ongoing litigation against the board and or its current and or former members. Let me know if you want to discuss.
Can I make a copy? Because I can't. I have
Yeah.
to have it in front of me.
I'll do it. Guys, I'll hit you and I'll put
Make two.
2. Anybody else? No? Okay.
Make it 3.
Okay.
For that. Yeah.
You took a ball around.
Is it a whole lot?
Ah, okay.
Women say that.
Oh, my God. Okay. I don't know about that.
Oh, yes. And the mic is on.
Thank you, Mom.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you.
So again, we're reading number 1, bullet 1. Take a look. If we don't have any comments, questions, discussions, we're gonna go on to the next one. Should we vote on this now then, if no one has comments, questions? No. We're gonna read all of one first and then vote on it?
No, I thought you went all the way through.
No.
Bullet point.
No, I haven't read the second one yet. Okay, I'm gonna go to the second bullet point. Vice Chair D'Angelo was very actively involved in the opposition to and sent correspondence to elected officials and city agencies regarding placement of homeless shelters in the district on behalf of the board, advising only the board leadership of his actions. These actions were taken without any input whatsoever from the full board and included proposing alternate sites in the district. Okay. So, we received a letter from Malcolm earlier today. May I call Malcolm to describe this letter? Is that okay?
Sure.
Okay.
I ain't gonna read it.
I mean, but you sent it,
I'll
and you guys may have not seen it because you saw it.
I think yeah.
Okay. So what was the gist?
So pretty much, I was going through the hearing last week and I just saw that Al said that he didn't send that letter out without approval of the board. So I did go back to the minutes of that year. I think that was supposed to be like around December of 2021, 2022, skips mine. But I found a letter that had proposed sites. I went through the housing minutes. It wasn't discussed there. I went through the executive leadership meeting minutes, wasn't discussed there. I went through the leadership meeting minutes, it wasn't discussed there, or there wasn't any vote on that specific issue there. And I went to the full board. The full board had a comment where it said that this letter needed to go out quickly, but there was no discussion, no discussion or vote on those sites. The issue with this though is, I understand, we didn't want a shelter at White Plains Road. We didn't want a shelter in Stillwater. Funny enough, when I lived over in that side of Allerton, one of those shelter sites were 2 blocks away from me. Going through the minutes, there was no discussion there at all as to why those sites, whether or not the board approved those sites, whether the members of that specific community knew about the sites or will be okay with that. There was no discussion. It was just a plain, here are the sites and that's that. And that in itself is an issue. We can't just go about proposing shelter sites just willy-nilly and not providing proper oversight as to what that thing looks like for the community as a whole. So that is what I included there, the minute breakdowns, the letter itself, and the question, and anything else. That'd be. I pretty much tracked through the entire process of what it would be for us to get proposed sites and how that will get approved.
Any comments or questions from the committee? I'm gonna ask,
I,
I'm gonna call on Al after you guys. Any comments from Malcolm?
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
no, go ahead, go ahead.
Are you gonna say the same thing I'm gonna
What do
say?
what you're gonna say.
I'm gonna say what I'm gonna say now.
Well, say it.
Okay. Well, number one,
Mhm.
that's a very good point, Malcolm. Because this is a very serious issue when you're going to do something like this in someone's neighborhood or close to their home. They've got kids, they've got family, they've got responsibilities in their own home. And this is something that should have been looked into as a community, as a full board. Those things should not happen without community knowing about it, having input, same thing we did with Jacoby Hospital. So I definitely agree that this should have been brought out. But since I'm on this anyway, I think the addition of all the new people have been very good. And I think for one reason, we get set in our ways. And I'm just going to make this short speech as Salamonica said to me, he says, Joe, you talk too much. But, and he's right. But this is very important, that we all get on the same page. And I know that my time on the board has been to work with everybody that I can work with, especially the community. And I think that's something we're losing sight of. This is leadership, and this is leadership from everybody, not just from the chair. Our communication, our most important communication is with the people and the communities. And yeah, if you see something wrong, if it cannot be straightened out, I think this whole thing and this whole process is trying. I think this has a tendency to, and if we use this right, I think we can bring the community back together where it's supposed to be and where this board is supposed to be. We all have different ideas and different approaches, and that's our nature. But if you didn't have leadership ability, you wouldn't be here. But you all do. The idea is to kind of corral that so that we can do what we're here for. And the only thing we're here for is to make life better for our neighbors and our friends and our people and our communities. So what I'd like to kind of see is more communication from the old people to the new people, because we can each learn something from each other, from each group. I know certain things that you don't know. You know a lot of things that I don't know, believe me. As a formal organization, that's very difficult. Now, you were raised and reared and studied community, how to make an organization run by certain rules, the rules. And a lot of us weren't. And that's where the bridge is. But we can't do anything if we're not working together. We cannot do anything at all. How much time are we spending doing this? Well, we should be out helping the guy with the little house on the corner and the store around the block and the crime in the streets and the kids in the schools. We're not doing any of that. We're here. Now we can find common ground. And that's what we've got to look for. Because we're not going to be strong any other way. We're weak right now. This community board, it's failing. Because we're not going anywhere. We're not doing what we're here for. And I think our step is to make sure, and Malcolm, you're very bright, and you know a lot of Robert's rules, and you know a lot of things about people and places, but so do a lot of people here and on this board. But we can't do anything unless we all kind of come together. And some of the things that we used to do, we shouldn't be doing anymore. That's true. We should be progressing. But we can't progress unless the people that know how to progress in those areas help the people who haven't done that.
Joe, I'm gonna have to interrupt you, just to
I
save
know, I'm
it
going
for
to.
closing statements.
Okay.
Let me get going. Hold that to the end.
But I just want everybody to know that that's my feeling. When I come here, I don't come here to make right from wrong or wrong from right. I come here because I want everybody together. That's the only reason I come here, is to make sure we're together so we can do some work. And I joined this thing and you joined this thing to help the community. We can't help the community when we're spending all of this time doing this stuff.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm kind of finished. I hope I didn't insult anybody or embarrass anybody.
And we got more to go, so just hold the powder. Hazel, quickly.
Oh, I can't beat that.
Okay, good. Next, so Al, I'm gonna allow you to respond to, respond again to the first bullet of the resolution based off of the new information that Malcolm has discovered, which is this letter that you did indeed write.
January 22, 2021.
So the letter was written January 22, 2021. It was to Mayor de Blasio and Commissioner Stephen Banks. Do you recall that letter?
I wrote a letter, yeah, from Morris Park Association, yes.
No,
But yeah, no, the issue is it's under CB11 header. It's under our header.
Yeah, if I sent anything, and I don't remember, I do remember sending the letter to the mayor. I also spoke to him on the phone. I have his cell number. If I did anything, if I ever sent a letter, I never did it without the approval of the board. I would never do, that's not my style. I would never take it upon myself to write a letter without permission from the board to do that. That's not my job to do that. I also wrote an article in the paper about the same situation.
The community board has a pattern, actually.
No, but respond to him. Was this letter voted on?
It was not voted on. And the community board does has a pattern.
Yeah,
right?
but
If,
let's leave it to this.
Yes.
Let's leave it to this.
Well,
Because-
for example, the Just Homes letter, and even letter of Metro North, before any letter is sent, in the first paragraph only stated that the board did this vote, this many A's, this many nays, this many abstentions. That it doesn't have that there.
Okay. Let's move on.
First of all, I don't have the letterhead. So if the letter was written, it had to come from the office. It wasn't written on my, in other words, I didn't sit down and type up the letter and send it to the mayor and sign it from the community board 11. I just wouldn't do it.
The unfortunate thing is that your name did sign, so someone someone wrote this letter for you, or you wrote it and sent it. It's in evidence, so I don't know.
I very well may have written it, but I didn't do it without permission of the board.
All right, I think.
I would send it from Morris Park without permission from the board, but not from community board 11.
Because he provided the letter.
No, yeah, the letter's in there.
So the
Yeah.
letter's.
No, the letter's here, and folks on the committee must look at their emails. Clear, okay, good. Any more conversation on this? Number one, we're gonna move to vote. All right. Ellie?
Yeah.
Are we doing the whole thing?
No, just number one. Yeah, the whole thing for number one. And if you need clarity, speak up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I do want to say, I do remember, and I have such bad memories sometimes, but I do remember that, Councilman Joe and I did come to us. I don't know if he came to a meeting or if he showed up in leadership, I don't remember that. But I know he was trying to get us to pick other locations because, he said if we didn't pick the locations, that the city would pick them for us. And I remember that very clearly, that he did say that, and it was very worrisome because if the city was gonna come and pick areas where they wanted to put a shelter and we would have no say, it was a great concern. That's the only thing that I can think of. I don't know, maybe Al, did you come to leadership? Did you maybe
You
come
know,
to?
Hazel, Hazel, I don't even remember what you were talking about. I remember it as you said it, but no, I really don't remember.
But yeah, I don't remember either.
But again, I just know me. I would never write something like that without permission. In other words, I just wouldn't take it upon myself to write it. It's not my style. I've never done that as leadership in anything I've done.
Any other?
I remembered something with that also with 1682 Stillwell, et cetera, that Mark, Joe and I found a discrepancy. And I remember we found a discrepancy with the amount that they were renting as opposed to the amount of the sale. There was something that was questionable just about the business agreement with that particular location. And because of that, things were halted. And I think we were asked to do an alternative site. And one of the other addresses was 2440. That's how 2443 Poplar Street got chosen. But I remember that there, I could go back in my emails and find it, but there was question. He investigated and he found something that was wrong on the business end of what was going on there. So.
Noted. I think the question is whether the board voted for this letter to come out. So I think that's what folks, yeah. So I think that's what you're paying attention to here. Any other question, comments? If not, we'll go for a vote. Okay. Ali?
My vote is no.
Okay. Joe?
No.
Okay. Hazel?
I'm going to vote no.
Okay. I'm gonna vote yes.
Based on the fact that I'm looking at the letter.
Yeah.
And minutes from all of the meetings, including the full board meeting, I'm gonna vote yes, it is a violation.
Okay. Moving on. To number 2, violation of New York City Charter and CV 11 bylaws. First bullet, just home letter of objection after full board vote objecting to the proposal. Vice Chair D'Angelo sent a letter to the chair of the NYC Health and Hospital Board of Directors, calling potential clients pedophiles, and did so on behalf of the board without board review of violation of CB 11 bylaws. Any comments or questions on that? That's number 2.
We don't have a copy of those, do we?
I do not have a copy of that letter.
Excuse me, Ellie, did you read my response?
Yes. But there, I mean,
Okay,
we're,
thanks.
yeah, no, we're asking if we
Okay.
have of the in front of us. All right, I'm gonna move on to the next bullet. Vice Chair D'Angelo has not participated in any standing committees contrary to CB 11 bylaws. While Mr. D'Angelo does serve on 2 committees, leadership and executive, they are mandated by his position as vice chair in our procedural committees, not substantive ones dealing directly with community issues or city agencies. Unlike the chair, who has sporadically attended other committee meetings, Mr. D'Angelo has not done so. So we received an email today from Cynthia quoting the bylaws. I'm going to read this out loud. Article 4, Section 9 of CV 11 bylaw states the chair shall appoint all members to at least one committee, but not more than 4 committees. And Article 5, Section 2 of CV 11 bylaw states it is recommended that all members serve on 3 committees. Mr. D'Angelo asserted that he is not required to attend committee meetings. This is incorrect in that Mr. D'Angelo is not part of and has not been appointed to any committees. His membership on the executive committee is by default due to his title. Additionally, the executive committee meets once monthly to review the calendar and agenda for the monthly full board meeting with very few exceptions. All current officers of the board are active members, and in some cases serve as chairs and co-chairs of other committees. Article 4, Section 10 of the bylaws provides a description of duties for officers. However, there is no provision that relieves them from committee requirements.
You know, the concern I have, I think the bylaws have to be changed to reflect that. The difference between officers and members. Because there's no distinction. Perhaps all members mean other than officers. That's unclear. But as we move forward, we need to make that clear that it applies to officers and members regardless of your position on the board. At this point, there's nothing that says that he has to be on a committee. May, keyword.
Anyone else? We'll call for a vote. All right. So we have 2 sub-bullets, again, just Holmes' letter of objection, and then the standing committee's bylaws issue. Jeanette? Okay, let's go Hazel.
I'm gonna vote no.
Okay. Okay. Joe?
But no.
No.
Voting no on this one. Jeanette?
I'm abstaining.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, next one. Number 3, Ethic Committee concerns. In April 2023, Vice Chair D'Angelo wrote an article in the Civic Center section of the Bronx Times heavily laden with racial stereotypes about Black Americans. When advised of the offensive nature of the piece by several of his board colleagues, the Vice Chair dismissed the concerns and presented the statements in the op-ed as fact, when they were readily refuted. Other than being a violation of the Code of Conduct in at least 2 ways, Mr. D'Angelo, perhaps aware of the impropriety of writing something this offensive to many, claimed that it was in his capacity as chair of the Morris Park Community Association that he penned this op-ed. The Code of Conduct does not delineate a difference. Furthermore, when named in an internal ethics complaint on the matter, the vice chair retaliated with spurious ethics complaints against 15 members of the board who had expressed their objections to the article in a signed letter to the borough president's office, a clear abuse of his authority and of board processes. These 15 complaints were all deemed unfounded by the Ethics Committee. Okay. Lastly, in response to the Just Homes proposal, the Vice Chair publicly called for defunding NYC Health and Hospitals Corporation, by which Jacoby Medical Center is funded. Jacoby is an important community partner of the board and a critical provider of healthcare services to underserved population members in our district as the only public hospital within and the only level 1 trauma center in the region. I think we've discussed these bullets. That, I mean, if anyone wants to bring something new.
I sent a letter.
Did. I think.
I just want to add, all you have to do is call the CEO of the hospital. He will tell you that he was informed about what I was going to do. In fact, I think Malcolm and Christine are working for John Zaccaro. He also was aware that when I talked about defunding Jacoby, it was just a smokescreen, hopefully to bring Just Homes to the table. All the politicians were aware of it.
So he's politicized.
So Al, did the board vote in favor or against Just Homes?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Did the board vote in favor of Just Homes or against?
They voted against it unanimously.
Yeah.
I believe there might have been one extension. I'm not sure, but it was overwhelming.
Comments, questions? Again, number 3, Ethics Committee concerns. 1 is the article in the Civic Center section of the Bronx Times. And the next being the response to the Just Homes proposal.
Going to acknowledge Malcolm's, right?
Yes. Malcolm did present a letter this afternoon. I'm going to read it. Dear Investigative Committee, I hope everything is going well as I tune into the hearing regarding Vice Chair Al D'Angelo, especially focusing on his response to the letter. I cannot help but feel deeply disappointed by his continued stance. The Vice Chair's persistence in doubling down on divisive, ill-informed, and degrading remarks is truly disheartening. The reactions from many of our members of color, particularly our African-American members, seem to echo a profound sense of distrust, disappointment, and disconnection towards the Vice Chair. While it's understandable that none of us are perfect and we don't expect anyone on this board to be an expert in socioeconomic issues, what should always be upheld is a sense of empathy and understanding. It's never appropriate to make disparaging remarks or perpetuate harmful stereotypes. Regardless of one's affiliation with a civic group, a member of a community board is expected to conduct themselves as a representative of the board at all times, especially someone holding the position of Vice Chair. Vice Chair D'Angelo claimed that his article was solely based about fatherless homes. However, the premise of his article paints a different picture. He begins with the statement, why are Black Americans the least educated, least healthy, poorest, and among the most incarcerated ethnic groups in the country. He continues by suggesting an examination of programs that have allegedly worsened the plight of Black Americans. To simply dismiss his article as a discussion on fatherless homes seems disingenuous, as he blatantly addresses issues he perceives within the Black community, such as educational deficiencies, crime rates, fatherlessness, and even questions the validity of achievements due to affirmative action, while proposing that we should emulate Asian Americans. I'll go on to say that within his article, and as he admitted during his chair, the Vice Chair attempted to draw inspiration from both Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas and Malcolm X. However, without the lived experience and context, Vice Chair Al D'Angelo would not have known that, in fact, when Malcolm X made his statements against affirmative action, he wasn't just making a case for self-determination. In fact, he was making an argument in favor of segregation, which was also something Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas admitted, and I'll cite the source for you as reference, and there's a site sorted. Continuing on, while Vice Chair D'Angelo believes that this matter was settled at the ethics hearing, the majority of board members did not believe the appropriate actions were taken, especially as the Vice Chair still to this day cannot realize why he was wrong. As board members, we are expected to listen, to advise, and come up with recommendations that benefit our entire district. When our board have members, and especially members within our leadership, who believe that certain races are more prone to crime, are more prone to fatherlessness, are uneducated, and are simply kept afloat by the government devices and not by the same type of grit, will, and determination as everyone, then we absolutely have a problem. While there are numerous challenges which may derive due to the color of my skin, which I personally experienced, those challenges do not prevent me or anyone else from succeeding and setting out to be all that I want to be. The biggest obstacle in my life, and within my perspective as a Black man, has always been those who limited me to stereotypes and those who refused to also acknowledge the historical significance of people who look like me. P.S. I've included both statements of the Ethics Committee complaint directly refuting all statements and Ethics Committee hearing. But in the grand scheme of things, no one should have to be put in this position where they must defend their identities by discriminatory and ill-informed statements.
First of all, I object to the fact somebody mentioned discriminatory. That's not discriminatory. Read data and statistics, demographics, resources, fatherless homes, statistics, 2003, risks and repercussions.
I think,
Written by Jason Weiss.
no,
Dated March 25th, 2003.
you're spot
That's
on.
one. There is a number of them. And I mentioned this in my answer. What I intended to do basically is show that fatherless homes lead to homelessness, leads to lack of education, leads to joblessness and crime. And those are the way the statistics came out. They are facts. They're not made up. I didn't pull them out of my ear. And they're up-to-date facts. They're not facts that were outdated. Some were taken as far as 2023, others 2019, and I don't remember where the rest of them are. But I had a number of resources for my facts. I absolutely did not want to hurt anybody's feelings or in any way demean the Black community. I broke down the 5 races. This is the way it turned out statistically. You may not like the results, but that's the way it is.
Okay, thank you.
I resent the fact that people make it sound like I'm racist. Malcolm's answer to me was if it was written by a Black person, it would be more understandable. That's a racist remark, and yet nobody held him accountable for that. But that's okay.
Guys, please. All right, thank you, Al. Appreciate the response. I'm not gonna go back and forth, but I would like the committee to, no comments or questions, we can vote.
Excuse me, before you go on, can I just say something for the record? Because he said something that I just want to clarify.
Can you hold for
No,
the,
just very quickly.
I can't, this will devolve. We're
I
on a
don't
roll.
work for John Zaccaro.
Okay. Comments, questions before we vote on 3? Or once, or twice? Okay, so let's vote. I'll go with Joe this time. So we have 2 bullets in number 3. Again, it's the op-ed article, and then the response to Just Home's proposal. You can pass. You come back.
Oh, is that for me?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's fine.
I was just thinking. I spoke to Al about this letter. I read the letter. And the problem is, basically, I've known Al for quite a while. I know he's not a racist. I know that his words, and he went into an area that perhaps he should have stayed away from. Because, again, my experience with him is not that he's been a racist. I can remember Morris Park. Morris Park itself was pretty racist. The Morris Park Association was probably all Italian, except maybe 1 or 2 other people. And as soon as Al took over, he changed it. He brought in one of my favorite people, the Muslims.
But we're not questioning whether or not Al was a
Well,
racist.
the trouble is that when you start to write about something, it depends on, number one, who writes it and the way it's written.
Anybody who, I'm just going to say, based solely on the letter that I read, I would have objected to that letter regardless of who wrote it.
Well,
So I'm going to deal with just the letter. I'm not going to deal with Al's character or whether or not he may or may not be a racist. I'm going to deal with the letter that was written and published.
well, I can say, and I agree that that was an ill-advised letter. That a letter did have its problems, and the way it's received by other people. Well, that's proof enough.
So what do you think?
What I'm saying is the letter was not a good letter. It was a bad letter. But it was written by a person who did not mean it to be a bad letter. It was written in a way that that's very, very difficult unless you're Black and you're writing about Blacks, or Hispanic and writing about Hispanics, or Jewish and writing about Jewish. It's kind of hard to go into another guy's household and tell him how to run his house. So I would say this about this letter. This was an ill-advised letter, but Al himself has proven to me over the years that he's not a racist. That's my opinion.
Okay, but I need a yes or no on.
Excuse me, may I say something else?
Uh,
My accusers didn't mention the fact that I wrote this as Morris Park Association president. I have a right to my opinion. It's an op-ed. I can write what I wish. The last time I looked, I was allowed to do that. As I said.
All right.
I spoke to-
We're in the middle of a vote. We're in the middle of a vote. No offense to anyone. We talked about this already. I only read Malcolm's email because it was a new letter. But
Right.
Al, you defended yourself last time. I don't think you're unless you're saying something different. I think we're gonna vote.
Okay.
Yeah, no, you're fine. It's fine. But for the sake of time, I think so Joe, for number 3. Three has 2 bullet points, remember? So we have the op-ed and then the Just for Homes proposal.
Well, I'm up on one and down on the other. The letter, again, it's got to be clearly understood that I in no way in the world think that Al is a racist. The letter was a bad letter.
Agreed. Okay. So, but what's your vote? Yes or no for 3?
Okay.
You want to come
That's
back to
for
you?
Civic Center?
Yeah, the Civic Center op-ed.
Well, that too shouldn't have been written.
I'm gonna.
This one.
Yeah.
All right. Yes, I suggest one proposal. What with the funding?
Well, no, it's important that Jacoby is funded. So I have to go along with that. So I guess that would be a yes, right?
Ellie?
Yes.
Okay. Jeanette?
Yes.
Hazel?
This is hard because I've known Al a long time also, and when I read that article, yeah, I was offended, but I knew where he was coming from, and I knew that he didn't mean to offend me. Jesus, I'm gonna abstain.
Okay.
Yeah, he's too much for me.
All right, we're moving on to number. Yeah, oh, I'm sorry. I'm a yes. Apologies. Moving on to 4. Violations of Community Board Code of Conduct. Vice Chair D'Angelo has consistently shared racially charged Facebook posts such as one about trying to sell his white privilege card, claiming it got him nothing. Despite being told by community members that these posts are harmful and even removing one in response, once he received feedback on his op-ed in the Bronx Times, the vice chair has persisted in engaging in this behavior. Next bullet. The vice chair took a leadership role in facilitating the Just Homes public hearing of September 2022, despite frequent references to his participation as being under the hat of Morris Park Community Association. He was the primary, most senior, highest ranking Bronx Community Board 11 member to appear in the facilitator's role, a clear conflict of interest as it remained unclear throughout the hearing where his position and the board's official position diverged. Okay, next bullet. During discussions on the Just Homes proposal, the vice chair posted on Facebook suggestion opponents of the program visit the homes of NYC Health and Hospital board members in protest. Although he did not endorse or encourage violence, Considering the highly charged environment and very disturbing posts by others, it was at least encouraging intimidation and harassment. Last bullet, Vice Chair D'Angelo did fail to adequately perform all the duties of Chair Farrar in her many absences. I'll give folks a couple seconds to decide what they're gonna vote, unless you guys are ready. Any comments or questions on 4? This is our last one, by the way.
Where it states that, in the first bullet, that the vice chair has persisted in engaging in this behavior, do we have any proof of that?
Not that was submitted,
Because
no.
I don't know of him persisting in that behavior. As far as the Just Homes hearing, that was a total nightmare. You can't just blame him without blaming me, without blaming Jeremy, without blaming, the person that put it all together. You just can't blame one person for that disaster. I'm sorry. It was not Al's fault. Al was really trying to protect me because I think people wanted to kill us that night. And, I was a little overwhelmed, so I am not, no, that's.
Okay.
And, as far as, suggesting opponents of the program visit homes of New York City Health, I have used that tactic myself, so I'm not gonna be a hypocrite. And I don't know where he failed to perform his duties, when Bernadette was absent, so I'm gonna say no.
Okay, so Hazel's a no. Joe,
I'm gonna say no also.
Ali,
Yeah, I think, again, we need to make a recommendation to the bylaws committee. If we believe that a person cannot be a leader in one organization and be a leader on another organization because it creates a conflict of interest, and then we should make that clear. Al's been on the board for many, many years, been reappointed many, many times, and during that whole time, he was a member of Morris Park Association. It should have been raised then, that you cannot be a leader in two organizations, not wait for something to happen, and all of a sudden throw it in there. I think we need to change the bylaws to reflect that if you are an officer or whatever, another organization, you cannot be a chair or vice chair of this committee because it presents a conflict of interest. Although I know that people are drawn from other organizations to be on the board because of their involvement in other organizations. So as we move forward, we need to clear that up. We have to make that distinction, just like I said earlier about an officer and a member. Again, we got to make it clear. We can't make it vague, left up to different interpretations. So I vote no.
okay. Jeanette,
I vote yes.
right, I'm voting yes. Okay. I'm gonna go down through the list, okay? 1 is a yes. 2 is a no. 3 is a yes. 4 is a no.
One second, number one?
What is it? What do you have for number 1?
No,
You have a no?
yeah, Joe, Ellie, and Hazel. Jean and Rich, yes.
Okay, so that's a number 1's a no?
Yep.
Okay, so we got a no, no, yes, and a no. All right? Al? Any questions?
Yeah, I just want to make one other statement. While you were questioning Bernadette, one of the members of the board statement was, that's why we want Bernadette to step down. I thought you guys on the board were supposed to be impartial, and yet the statement was made, and I think that's not a good idea. Just figured I'd bring that up. Again, I want to thank you guys for the long hours you put in. This couldn't have been easy for you.
All right, thank you. We're gonna do gallery for 2 minutes each. Yep, this is first one. Get ready. Ready? Go for it.
As far as Al being Morris Park Association, years and years ago, before Al was part of the Morris Park Association, yes, it was a racist organization. Al came on board and changed all that. He was the one that made sure when Manny was having a hard time from Big Deal buying a house, he made sure that he was able to buy a house where he wanted to in this neighborhood. It was not his organization that was sitting in front of people's houses because they didn't like who the people were. All this that's been brought up, first of all, going back to 2021 with the shelter on Stillwell, that was years ago. That was during COVID. What bearing does that have on this? It has no bearing on this whatsoever. It shouldn't have a bearing on it. That was all done by our former councilman, Mark Donut. He pushed it. He was the one that said we needed to find it. And as far as it not being voted on, how do we all know about it then? All the people that were on the board then do know about this letter.
Okay. Go for it.
Is my 2 minutes up?
Oh, no, you had time. You had time.
I didn't realize we were able to still submit letters about this. You're saying there's letters submitted as early, as late as today? How were we supposed to know that we were able to do that?
No, see, I reached out to Malcolm earlier because I wanted him to provide me some documentation based on some of the statements that he made.
Yeah, because I think the resolution, a lot of it came from it.
Right.
So I think,
So that's why I just.
Right, but I know Cynthia also submitted an email.
Yeah, she
You know, we should have, the whole board should have known that we could have
Just for,
submitted.
Cynthia submitted a resolution and Malcolm submitted a resolution.
Yeah.
That's why they were reached out to for more information.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
That's based on your own research.
Yes, I know.
Okay, next.
So, I appreciate what you said, Tiz. And one thing I think that needs to be clear is that what Al said about, that's why we voted, I don't know who said that, but I think the we would have referred to the 24 people who voted for the resolution. I don't know who said it, but anyway, my big thing is be accountable to your words, know who your audience is, and if you are going to represent a public body such as this one, just in terms of common sense, you cannot make broad statements like the ones that were made in the article, whether it was as Morris Park or whatever. There's the example of a nurse from Bellevue who knocked over some guy on a city bike or whatever. You know, she had on an H&H uniform. And so she was representing health and hospitals, whether or not she was a jerk and did this to this guy, you know, she was still representing H&H as an employee, and she had to be accountable. And I think that's my big thing, as well as, to me, documentation is everything. That's what I do for a living. And you have to kind of follow things to the T. If I violate bylaws, if I do something in violation, then I would expect to be held accountable, and whether I like it or not, I would have to suck it up.
30 seconds.
That's basically all.
No
comment.
Okay.
Malcolm?
I have a question actually.
Sure.
So I think, and just building off of what Joe was speaking on earlier, right? When I came on this board, with the idea of wanting to be a part of something bigger. I wanted to enact change. I wanted to, because I've come to meetings before. You guys didn't know me then, but I graduated college and I started coming to community board meetings, and I didn't see myself represented in this community board, right? Some of the comments that I heard, at that time was very alarming to me, but I mean, I've seen progress, right? I wouldn't say that progress has not been made. I've seen progress. But I think that there's been a lack of accountability towards each other.
Oh, yeah.
Right? I think that we've allowed people to just do whatever, say whatever, just because somebody else did it. And at some point, it has to be that moral aptitude to say that this was wrong. You can't now allow us to go further. Because what that builds into is angst and more anger towards people to come after. Because they will use that as a standard, as an example as to how they have to be. Right. And as me, as my parents have, as my dad has raised me, for example, he's always taught me, you see something, you have to stand by your word because that is your character. I've known about it. I don't think I was racist, right? But that article, when I read it that day, under my position in that bid, what I do for work, I was very disheartened, right? I could say that again and again. And I've shared it with people that I went to school with of all races, and they've all felt the same way, right? And part of the reason why the Juneteenth event came into fruition was because we also did notice there was lack of interaction with certain, right? Part of the reason why we created the book bag giveaway this for the education committee was because we didn't see much interaction with Eastchester Gardens or with Parkside. So we said, we needed to expand outside of this. I really want to see this moment, right? To say that we're better than what we've been projected to be, what we've been depicted to be, and what we have been, and that we can really just go above and beyond. Sometimes, I feel like there are people in leadership who just have not
30 seconds.
Been open to that. And I just feel like, we need to really set the standard as to what we want to be as a board in the future. And I think that should open up conversation as to what change looks like and what our goals in the immediate future will be and for the long term. But that's about it.
Time.
Thank you.
Anybody else in person?
No, I'm gonna say something just quickly.
Okay, go for it.
And I apologize, Rich, I just wanted to get that out there, what I said earlier.
Yeah.
And I forgot that we had the gallery time, so, I apologize again. To the point, again, I do not work with John Zaccaro, and I am not privy to any conversation he may or may not have had with John Zaccaro about, whatever political theater he was planning. That is, knowledge to me, right? This is something that's me. I think that where, we have spent so much time, so much wasted energy has gone into this, when this could have been resolved, had people listened, heard, the voices of some of the, community members on this board sooner. We said, hey, this is uncomfortable, this makes us feel, this way, and there was a resolution that was put forward, and that resolution was that I'll take, sensitivity training, right? And I'll refuse them because I'll refuse, we then all relent, and we're like, okay, whatever, we'll all take training, right? But then there were board members who really had an emotional response to that, and they said, we didn't do anything wrong. We just came on this board, so why should we be held, to that, accountable for something
30
that,
seconds.
We did. So, I hope that Al, hears people of this board today, Al, and if you don't, listen to those people who you don't consider friends, I hope you do listen to the ones you do call friends.
I just, after we go, I'm just giving information.
Yeah.
That's it.
I just want to say, like, this is not about whether Al's a racist or not, or whether people think he's a racist or I personally think he's a great guy. I love to hang out with him, blah, 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 but that's not the point. The point is when you are representing a community board, you have to take care with what you put out there. I got removed from the board, okay? Because I was a little too out there. And so I think it's important to just remember, and I think that listening might be a better thing to do, because your letter hurt people. And rather than doubling down and saying, oh, well, this is just facts, and oh, I wasn't speaking about this, blah, blah, blah. Maybe like, hey, talk to me about why you feel this way. It would be, thanks.
Just for the Stillwell letter, I was sent, a picture, the Leadership Committee, January 21st, 2021. Under point 2, it's mentioned that, you know, the proposed homeless shelter on Stillwell was discussed, and also on that same meeting, in the minutes, it states that Jeremy shared the letter that was sent to the mayor regarding the proposed homeless shelter on Stillwell Avenue. Al stated that this was time sensitive and had to be sent out right away.
Okay.
So it was mentioned at the leadership meeting. I just wanted to point that out.
Roxanne?
Sorry, yes, I have to agree. The letter was written by District Manager regarding 1628 Stillwell, because it was recorded in the meeting where the chair thanked the District Manager for writing the letter. So it is what it is, even though I did not agree with that letter. And secondly, I hope whatever you decide, this is a litmus test for all committee board members, not just the ones that you don't like or do like. Because several board members have posted on Twitter that since I spoke on behalf of the First Amendment, that was supporting a racist, referring to Al D'Angelo. And the prior meetings, they did call him a racist. Now they say he's not a racist. So I guess I'm not a supporter of racists. And it's very appalling that people would say I'm a supporter of racism if they knew anything about me. I've been very vocal against any inequities in Community Board 11 or in my community. So that's awful how people continue to attack when you don't agree with them. And lastly, process. With Just Holmes, I don't know why Hazel says people tried to kill her. No one wanted to kill her. It was the few people who vocalized their support for this project. I was one of those few people. And mind you, it was just 2 or 3 people. And what upset me the most was how it all started when the district manager didn't follow the process where it was 2 minutes per person. And the first speaker asked for more time, and he decided to ask the crowd if the person should get more time. And of course the crowd said yes. And once you hand over the power to the crowd, you can't blame them for once they take control. You gave the crowd the control, and then you lost control of the mob. And so board members who now are appalled by that behavior were sitting there applauding, and not only that, they were very silent. No one stood up and defended or spoke outrage against the behavior. So again, look in the mirror and hear your own words and reflect very carefully. Thank you so much.
That's rocks.
Diana has it.
Diana?
Yes, thank you. So people seem to think that Al hadn't made any Facebook posts that could be seen as offensive since that column that he wrote. But in October 2023, and I mentioned this at meetings, community board meetings, his post on absenteeism, where he claimed that in New York City schools, he claimed that no one's doing anything about it and derelict parents don't give a whit about their kids, when that clearly wasn't true. And if he cares so much about issues like this, why didn't he ever come to an education committee meeting and ask the board to work on these issues? I do think that the committee and the board should really think not just about how all of this is affecting the board itself, but the reputation that's being formed for the wider community, for the Bronx, New York City, the world. On social media, articles about Al's column, about the vote to demote, about the Just Home public hearing with Al's involvement have been viewed thousands, even tens of thousands of times. The other night, I was in a taxi on the way home from a board meeting, and mentioned to the driver the black driver where I was coming from. And he sighed and said, "Oh, Community Board 11."
We thank you.
Does the board want its reputation and legacy to be represented by these missteps and offensive views and behavior? That's the question, I think.
Thank you. Anybody else?
My last statement.
Okay, closing statement, go for it, Joe.
Okay,
Okay.
this is the best meeting I've been to in 25 years.
Wow.
This is
Saying that's
the
not
most
saying much.
significant.
Guys, I want to thank you for your time.
All right.
Thank you,
Bye
Al.
now.
Have a good night.
Good night.
We heard from the up
Just-
and coming, the new, and the people that we have to hear from.
Just to be clear,
Could be the greatest meeting, the greatest board in the city.
thank you. Just to be clear, I just want to summarize.
Yep.
what we-
Go for it.
So regarding Bernadette, we voted 5-1 that we're not in favor of the resolution. And with Al, we voted 3-1 that we're not in favor of his resolution. But that would be our recommendation to the board, the full board. Is there any corrections or?
I'm sorry, what's the?
I think it should be clear that it wasn't unanimous, that
It was not unanimous.
Yes.
That's why it says 5-1 and 3-1. But that does not make it unanimous.
okay.
How could it be 5-1?
Oh,
Because
because,
it has 6 resolutions, 6
Yeah.
pieces.
Oh,
yeah.
I think we have,
You're only
I think
four.
none of the resolutions.
Huh?
None of the individual votes were unanimous. I think that should be clear.
Well, I think maybe what we could do is we could break down each vote by the vote tally. If we want to be super transparent, though.
I think we should be super transparent, and I would just like to.
Like on the first indictment, boom. These are the yeses, these are the nos. On the second indictment, these are the yeses, these are the nos. And folks can,
I do think we should be
That should
super
attached in the-
transparent, and I would also like to say, and I've said it many times throughout all of our meetings regarding this, that this was a leadership issue. It was not about anything other than leadership.
Mhm.
And if more than half of your board questions the leadership of a chair and a vice chair, that is something that definitely has to be taken into account. And moving forward, changes need to be made. And this is not about whether or not people are good people. You can be a fantastic person. That doesn't make you a great leader. You can be best friends. That also doesn't make you a great leader. This was about leadership, and it needs to, hopefully, moving forward, significant changes made. It was about accountability for leadership. The majority of both of these responses was all of the things that very little accountability was taken. And I think hopefully that will change moving forward. The diversity of this current board is a reflection of the diversity of the communities that we're here to service. And in order to get it right, because it's not just amongst ourselves or the borough president that is watching us, it is other community boards. It is other entities to see if we can get our house in order. And both this resolution, this committee, and what we do moving forward, I hope everyone takes the opportunity to move in the right direction.
You've got a good point, except that I've known this community. I've known both of these people as leaders. I don't know you, but I've known both of these people as leaders in community in a lot of different situations. And I have one philosophy in life, and that is, I don't care what you say. I care what you do.
I absolutely agree.
And I've seen what they can do. And I've seen what needs to be done here. And I think you're on the right track. We got some great people here, got some great minds. Malcolm is a bright young star here. And it's great to see him. And we got other bright people that come from different walks of life. It's what we need.
Cynthia had a question and then I'd like to say something.
Go ahead, Cynthia.
Cynthia, go ahead.
So I know that the full board will be receiving a majority report and minority report if applicable. Will the full board also receive the resolutions and the
That's what I was
responses?
just gonna speak on.
Yeah.
Okay, so for the committee, my suggestion for the next steps, any information that was provided, Malcolm's emails, Cynthia's emails, the resolutions, the responses from the two parties, that should all be sent to the full board. And I would suggest doing it in the next full couple of days because there's going to be a lot of information. I myself personally am disappointed that there's not more board members on
I'm
WebEx watching
surprised,
this.
right? Is that we have to
This is
now
like-
defend ourselves.
Right, this is a seriously important issue, and every time we've had a meeting, there's been barely any
Yeah, I know.
community board
We've
members
had
on
multiple
there.
meetings.
Yeah, so me, and I'm only speaking for myself, I am sincerely disappointed in the fact that the rest of the board members, besides those who have come to every meeting or been on WebEx for every meeting, have not shown enough interest in this vitally important matter that the board is dealing with right now.
Yeah.
That being said, when you send the information out, my suggestion would be putting a link to every meeting that you have had and ask the board members to watch that, because if they're gonna reenact all the questions that were asked and everything, it's gonna take forever for our meeting to go over. So they need to read everything and they need to review the tapes.
Okay.
So that's just all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Okay. Good?
Yep,
We're good.
Yeah, think so?
think so.
Adjourn?
Do we have any other business to talk about?
Yeah.
Okay, is there a motion to adjourn?
Second. I motion to adjourn.
Second,
Second.
any opposition?
The time is now, I can't read it.
10:40 PM.
Time is 10:40, we're adjourned.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, thank you.
All those years,
Hey, listen, Joe.